All rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for the men and women who continue to serve this country and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Who? Oh, I didn't know. And for the tragic event that unfolded this afternoon, I believe it was 14 children in Texas. I was busy all day, so I only saw part of the headlines, and one teacher. Thank you. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes. Here. Condon. Crow. Here. Linehan. Here. McDonald. Here. Murphy. Here. O'Malley. Here. Sika. Here. Simonelli. Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora here. Councilor Simonelli did reach out to me. He is under the weather and will not be able to attend tonight's meeting. Is Councilor Connor coming? I don't know. Councilor Connor is coming. Is that him coming in? No. Okay. For those, we do have a couple presentations in the audience presenting this evening. Just a couple friendly reminders. For those in the audience, please silence your phones. And we're gonna, and when we do, I did give some of the guests the heads up. When you do come to the podium, we do ask for your name and address for the record. It's not for anything other devious purpose, but we just ask that for the record. Sometimes we have to go back to it. It helps us identify the individual speaking. Okay? Clerk, first order of business.
Under guests and achievements, we have Asian Voices of Organized Youth for Community Empowerment, A-VOYCE, will appear before the council to present their recent survey with local youth on transportation and the Malden Transit Action Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Councilor Winslow was the one who put this on the docket, so I will turn the mic over to Councilor. Oh, wait. I don't know why my. Go ahead, Council. Hold on 1 second. Councilor Winslow.
Thank you. I know several years ago, before COVID, I had met with the A-VOYCE students from Malden High. This is a program initiated by the Asian Community Development Corporation, and they've done things like work on the Ed Embley and Park on Exchange Street and other type of things. So we were looking for a new project. At that time, prior to COVID, we talked about focusing on Center Street near the high school and the Chevrolet School. And I actually committed some of the mitigation money from my council fund, as well as got a commitment from John Priato to help support that. And unfortunately, due to COVID, that kind of got sidetracked. And so, and by the time we were ready to re-engage, we had done a lot as a council to vote on the Mbta changes on Center Street, so it didn't make any sense. So we had some discussions, and one of the things that we are working on now is a transit action plan. And so one of the things is that we know many of our high school students rely on our transit system to get to the high school. So it seemed like a very logical thing to have our students engage on that. And we also know that many students, ride the buses with their families. So it just seemed like a very logical thing to make sure we were both reaching out to youth and perhaps to their families as well. So that was, we decided to, post-COVID, refocus on that. And this is the presentation. The students really developed this all pretty much independently. I could say besides the guidance of ask your fellow students and maybe their families about how they use transit in Malden, this is really just developed with youth leadership. And they developed the surveys and I think this will be very invaluable, and it's very interesting what they developed. So I welcome A-VOYCE, and thank you all for coming out tonight. Thanks. So, and I think we also will have a translator tonight, so as well. Yep. So, have your patience here. So great. So good. So great.
Thank you, Councilor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Councilor Winslow. My name is Emma Ishida. I am the Youth Programs Associate at ACDC. Today we will be presenting on the Malden Bus Transit Project, as Councilor Winslow introduced us. Our youth leaders Mandarin interpretations will be created by our translator, Terry Yin, and we will have questions at the end. And now I'll pass it on to one of our amazing youth leaders, Elena Yang.
Hello, my name is Elena, and this is Sabrina, Naomi, and then Sun. And we are here today to present our spring project on how young people experience bus transit in Malden.
Sorry， 大家好，我的名字叫 Selina Song and Elena。我们今天在这里呢，给大家呢就是展示我们的摩顿的青年怎么样在这个公共的交通上面去做一些改善。
So first, we're going to go through our introductions. What is A-VOYCE and what do we do? And then we're going to look at our processes, our findings, and our takeaways and questions.
我们今天先看一下我们A-VOYCE 是做什么的，给大家一个介绍。然后呢，还有就是我们是有一些数据给大家展示，还有就是我们怎么样去做一些改善。
So first of all, what is A-VOYCE? The mission of A-VOYCE is to equip youth to be community advocates who design spaces for collective dreams, joy, and power.
首先，我们来认识一下什么是 A-VOYCE 哈，亚美发展社区发展协会的 A-VOYCE 呢，他们的使命就是希望能让青年成为社区的领导者，同时呢，为他们的梦想、为他们的欢乐还有力量一个设计这样一个空间。
And this is our cohort.
这是我们。
We do different community-based projects every year, and this year we focused on transit justice, specifically on how we could make Malden's public transit more accessible and affordable for young people. For our data collection process, we conducted interviews and surveys and gained over 80 different insights. And now I'll pass it on to Sabrina.
我们每年都会做不同的项目哈，今年呢，我们主要专注在这个巴士和公共交通上面，特别是如何让 Malden 的公共交通让对年轻人来说更加的可负担，更加的可以去使用。然后我们也收集了一些数据，在我们收集数据的时候呢，我们获得了80多个不同的反馈。现在我们让 Sabrina 跟大家介绍。
Thank you. So, after discussions about transit justice, we focused on the question, how might we use storytelling to create a fair and accessible environment for modern residents of all ages, especially young people?
我们刚刚开始使用这种通过讲故事的方式呢，来创造一个公平的这样的一个环境，还有就是如何我们通过改善公共交通来帮助摩顿的居民，特别是青年。
To reach the most responses, we split up into 3 different committees. The Social Media Committee, which is responsible for creating flyers to post on Instagram. The Community Engagement Committee, which is responsible for reaching out to 3 to 4 youths in the first week. And the Outreach Committee, which is responsible for drafting and emailing Malden High School staffs.
我们在创建了这个调查之后呢，我们就开始对我们的青年做一些调查。我们分成3个不同的小组，第一个小组是社交媒体，第二个呢就是通过像 Instagram 啊这些社交媒体，第二个呢是社区的参与。我们找到了3到4个不同的青年，然后一起来参加，还有外展，我们去联系学校，还有学校的员工，通过用 email 的方式。
And here are the flyers the Social Media Committee worked on.
这是我们的社交媒体的委员会所做的这个宣传单。
And I will be briefly going over the demographics of our surveys.
现在我们简单的跟大家介绍一下我们调查的人口统计的数据。
We had a total of 71 survey responses, and of those respondents, 79% took the English survey, 3% took the simplified Chinese survey, and 18% took the traditional Chinese survey. And our surveys are targeted towards Malden High School students, and the respondents were evenly split among the 4 class years.
我们一共收到了 74份调查的反馈，然后我们通过语言把它分类，有71份调查里面有79%是英文的，有3%是使用的简体中文，有18%使用的是繁体中文。同时呢，我们在对调查这个摩顿高中的青年的时候呢，我们在这个数量上面也分成了4个不同的班级。
On the survey, we had a question, with whom do you take the bus? 30% of the respondents responded with family members. This shows that the bus system serves as an important extension of household support in Malden, and youths may have utilized the bus or transit system while taking care of family members or doing errands with family members. And now I will pass it on to Mayoe.
那我们其中的一个调查问卷，一个很重要的问题就是你跟谁一起坐巴士、坐公共交通？然后30%的参与者呢表示他跟他的家人一起坐巴士，这呢也帮助我们了解到了摩顿的这个公交系统呢是以家庭为中心的一个很重要的部分。同时呢，也使得很多我们的青年或者是摩顿的居民可以通过公共交通去照顾家人，同时呢可以大家一起去做事情。
Now we will talk about what we found in our survey, both in English and Chinese, and as well as our interviews. We had many findings and conclusions, but mainly we had three main ones.
好，现在来看一下我们的调查数据的结论。我们有分成英语和非英语的。
First, we found that an overwhelming majority of people across languages said that they would use the bus more often if it came more frequently. This indicates that if the bus came more frequently, the use of the bus by high school students would increase.
首先，我们找到的这个数据呢，看到大部分的人，他们在使用不同语言的人，他们呢希望呢巴士来的会，希望它更频繁的会有巴士。那同时呢，也表示说，如果有更多的巴士的话呢，我们对于高中生来说，他们的使用频率也会增加。
We also found that there was a difference in how many people use a reduced or free pass between English speakers and Chinese speakers. About 46% of English speakers have reduced bus fare, while 15% of Chinese speakers have it. We hypothesized that more equitable language access may allow more Chinese speakers to be aware of affordable public transportation.
我们还发现呢，在讲英语的和讲中文的居民在使用减价或者是免费的巴士通行证的数量上有很大的差异。有46%的人是讲英语的，他们是使用免费或者是降价的巴士票，只有15%的说中文的居民是使用这种减价的巴士票。所以我们假设呢，我们需要有更多的语言的正义和公平，才能使更多会讲中文的居民可以知道这个可负担的公共交通的这个项目存在。
Furthermore, we found that there was a difference in how easily participants across languages are able to afford taking the bus. Roughly 25% of participants across all 3 surveys said that they either sometimes, rarely, or never able to afford the bus. Within this Chinese survey, 33.33% or 1/3 of the surveyors were sometimes, rarely, or never able to afford the bus. This data highlights an important need for increased language access in Malden to ensure all residents are aware of and can benefit from services such as free or reduced passes. I will be passing on to Sun.
同时呢，我们也发现呢，在讲不同语言的这些参与者中呢，这个乘坐公共交通的难易程度也是有差异的。在这3个调查里面呢，有25%的这些居民呢表示，他说有时、很少或永远都买不起这个巴士票。还有呢，讲中文的这些居民的时候，我们发现有33%，也就是1/3的居民觉得有时或很少、永远都负担不起这个巴士。所以这个数据也强调了，在摩顿呢，我们需要有提供更多的语言方面的支持，以确保所有的居民都可以了解到有这个免费或者是减价的巴士通行证，我们是可以使用的。那我现在呢，就给我们做一个总结。
And so after our findings, we came up with 3 main suggestions for the city.
根据我们的调查结果呢，我们 为摩顿提出了3个主要的建议。
Our first suggestion is to improve the air filtration systems on the MBTA. And this is mostly in response to general concerns about sanitation and air quality on public transit. And we want to specifically highlight this issue considering the COVID-19 pandemic.
第一，我们的建议呢，就是希望能改善我们在 MBTA 上面的空气过滤系统哈，特别是大家对这个空气净化，还有特别是在疫情这段时间，我们对这个清洁的要求。
Our second suggestion is to increase the marketing of student MBTA reduced passes that cater to non-English and ESL speaking communities. And this is mostly to bridge the gap between ESL and non-ESL students. And this can be done within the schools or by the city.
第二个建议呢，我们就是希望能够增加对非不是讲英语的，或者是ELS 社区的学生或者是居民提供免费或者是减价的巴士票的这样的一个机会。同时呢，希望可以宣传，特别是在学校，还有就是摩顿市，我们可以做一些这方面的宣传的工作。
And our last suggestion is to add a stop near or in front of Super 88 Market. And to give context, we had one optional writing question that asked where the survey taker would want to stop. And of 31 responses, 10 said that they would want one on Super 88 or on Medford Street, which is where Super 88 is located. And of those 10 responses, 8 were from the Chinese survey. And what we can pull from this is that having an accessible stop near Super 88 will give an accessible route to a cultural and ethnic supermarket.
同时呢，我们就是第二个建议呢，就是希望呢能够在这个88超市的前面加一个巴士站。然后呢，我们发现呢，就是在这个中国超市这里呢，这个是一个很重要的事情。有31个回答者中有10个说他们想在88超市前面放一个巴士站，有10份的回复呢是用中文回答的。所以呢，我们想告诉大家呢，就是说通过这样的方式，可以让我们的巴士更加的适合一些不同的社区的文化。
And lastly, we would like to leave you off with some questions. First, how can the city of Malden prioritize language access as a tool for transit equity? And second, how can important cultural landmarks such as grocery stores, community centers, and public services help inform future and current bus routes? And now, if there's time, we will open up questions from the council to the youth.
最后呢，我们想留几个问题给大家哈。第一个问题呢，就是摩顿市如何的使得我们的公共交通更加的公平，怎么样考虑到这个语言的服务。第二个呢，就是一些重要的地标，比如说文化的地标、超市、社区中心，还有服务的机构，怎么样可以帮助大家去了解未来的公交的路线。然后现在呢，我们就打开给我们的市议会去看一下大家有没有什么问题。
Okay, ready for questions? Emma, before I forget, can you just make sure that we get a copy of the presentation for our records? If you want to come up, do you mind taking the clerk's card and you can just email it to him? We just need it for public record. Thank you, Emma, appreciate it. All right, so Council Linehan has her mic on first. Council Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank you all and congratulate you. That was an outstanding presentation. Some of you, probably none of you know this, but I was on the ACDC board for many years, and having the A-VOYCE presentations was always one of the biggest highlights and most uplifting parts of our board updates. It never fails to be illuminating and capture things that, you know, we adults just don't have the ability to know, so thank you for that. A couple things you said really stuck out to me. This notion of the bus as an extension of household support. You know, I've felt for years that when the T counts ridership data, when they count who's riding the T, this idea that older teens may be taking younger siblings, or that there may be family members that aren't captured with one Charlie card tap, especially in a city like Malden where we rely on it for not just day-to-day trips, but also to get to schools. Having good data and recognizing that family members go together and that one trip may actually represent 2 people, I think is something that we as a city need to do a better job of advocating, that we're likely undercounted when we advocate to the T for how much ridership is really present and what we need. The other thing that I did just want to ask you is, are there ways that the city or the schools the school department could do a better job. You talked a little bit about marketing the youth passes. I know the T did a lot of work to make that an online system and not an in-person sign-up during COVID, which is great. But are there things that we can do, maybe like having a sign-up date where people, if they need help, they can go do that in person? Or are there things that we're not thinking of that could make that easier and facilitate more youth to sign up at the beginning of the year for the youth and the student passes? That's all.
A reminder, Council Linehan, we have to translate that.
Understood.
So I don't know what she said, so good luck.
I'll try my best. Thank you.
I didn't want to interrupt the council, but I.
A fair point.
给大家总结一下，刚才那个Linehan 议员呢所说到，就是第一个是感谢我们的 ACDC 的 A-VOYCE 的年轻人可以做一个非常棒的一个演讲哈。第二个呢就是 Linehan 呢议员也是在 ACDC 的董事会上面之前是他的一个成员，然后呢我们也是希望能够给予更多的支持，然后还有就是刚才他讲到的，就是我们的公交。公交上面呢，给予这个家庭更多的一些支持的时候，还有数据上面很多的数据呢是 Mbta 并没有统计到的，所以我们怎么样去为我们的家庭做更多的一些支持，还有提供更多的一些争取的服务哈，还有就是在学校和城市方面怎么样去提供更多的一些服务比如说我们现在在网上面大家可以自己注册拿到这个学生的T Pass。然后呢，我们的青年也是还可以就是在现场去学校那里去申请，在我们在这个学校上课之前，所以呢这些数据呢，我们都希望可以把它给统计下来。
Thank you.
So thank you for your input, but a suggestion I have is that usually they open the what's it called, like the card, they give the free pass cards to students early in the year, so they can like mostly only get it early in the year. And I feel like there's some students that don't like start the school year as early as some other kids do. So I do believe that they should like advertise the idea more and maybe like open it up later in the year so that people who don't have access to it can get the card for themselves. Because as a student myself, I go to school on buses and I have like 3 siblings. And it's like hard to get them like from home to school, and my mom like has like a lot of problems with that. So I do think that we should like maybe like send out more emails or like just like do the outreach system more to make it easier for people to know when to get the cards and when they can't.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you for that.
是很多的居民呢，他们学生都会拿到这免费的巴士的票。同时呢，我们希望呢，市府这边可以提供更多的推广的工作，因为很多家庭他并没有机会可以获得这些信息。比如说，我的家人有3个小朋友，有3个兄弟姐妹，那很多时候妈妈并不知道这些的信息，所以呢，可能用 email 的方式或者做更多的一些外展的工作，可以让大家可以更加容易的获取这方面的信息。
Thank you. Councilor Hayes. And again, just as a reminder, we are translating. No, Councilor Hayes, I have Councilor Collins.
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw his light up or something.
No,
But thank you very
You put
much.
first, then Councilor McDonald, then Councilor Murphy. Did you?
Okay,
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Collins is first, it's fine.
thank you. I'm going to keep this short for the translation, so thank you very much. That was a great presentation. I wanted to, on some of your reflections here, that the city did just recently hire a language access person here, so that's one really great advancement to getting access to everyone. And also, I agree, it should be announced more in the schools. My kids take the bus too and public transportation, and not only for kids who didn't come in right in the beginning of the school, but you just forget, like we're all human beings, so I think that's great, and I just want to offer any help. I'm always here, you can reach out to me, and I can help you in any way. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I gotta wait for the translator, I'm sorry. I
I'll do
knew
it
I was
brief.
gonna do that
I'll do
once
it brief.
before the night ended, so.
那嗨市议员呢就说，他说感谢你们做了非常棒的这个演讲哈，还有就是想告诉大家，就是我们市府刚刚请了一个提供语言服务的这样一个员工，希望给更多的居民提供语言的支持。然 然后同时呢，我们也希望呢，就是你讲的很对哈，有很多的这些公共的交通的信息是没有得到公布的，所以呢，很多家长也会忘记。所以呢，如果你有任何的帮助需要帮助的话，你也可以找我。
Thank you. Council McDonald.
Thank you. Great presentation, and I do love your graphic design. I have two questions. One, in addition to having a language access coordinator, we are starting an intercultural committee to try to help reach out across language and cultural barriers. And we are looking for people to apply, and an invitation if any of you or A-VOYCE would be interested in working with that committee to do better language outreach to our Chinese-speaking or other language, to other communities where there are language barriers. I would love to talk to you about that. So, is there any interest in working together on that? You can think about it.
And whoever did the graphic designer, we definitely want you to apply, because it's
Yeah.
a great job.
I can give you my email address and you can get back to me.
They're all seniors, Carrie. Council McDonald, they're like, we're out of here.
Yeah, just to reflect what Council President said, unfortunately, I will be graduating soon, and I will be off to college, but I think it is definitely interesting, and we appreciate your work and what you do, and the new developments that have been going on. And so if, it happens to be going on from now till July-ish, then, I think I'd probably be available to take part in it in some way, but yeah, unfortunately, I'm graduating. But yeah, we do have some sophomores available to take that. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Sun Tran.
Son, that was the best political answer I've seen in a long time.
Thank you.
Not only did you deflect it, but you threw your friends under the bus and said they can do it. Fantastic move.
Thank you.
You'll be a politician before you know it. You all set, Council? Oh, I'm sorry, Council.
Well, I had a second question. Do you want to interpret, and then I'll do my other question?
Let me just briefly translate that.
Yep.
So, McDonald 议员呢就说，他说你们做得非常的棒，还有就是除了我们请了一个语言的支持的这个员工之外呢，总之我们希望做更多的不同的文化之间的交流。然后呢，我们希望呢就是邀请更多的不同的文化，比如说有讲中文的、讲不同语言的人，大家可以在一起去合作。还有呢，就是你们的这个PPT 做得非常的漂亮哈。刚才商就说他现在马上要毕业了哈，但是呢，他的其他的同学可以帮忙。
Thank you. My second question was whether you have a plan to give this information to our state elected officials who have more influence with the MBTA, or if that is something that we could help you with by passing on the information.
Hi. I think this is something brought up by Councillor Winslow. We don't currently have plans to bring it up to the higher levels of state, but I think that's definitely a good idea, and we will probably get to work on that soon.
Hold on, Council, 1 second. Okay.
All right.
You all set, Council McDonald?
I am set, although did you have something to say?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, don't worry. But we do have like a last slide where we have like our website, like our link for our website. If you guys want to get like more information on our project, then you guys can go to our website and then look or contact us if you guys want. So yeah.
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you, Council. I just wanted to translate. Yep.
最后一个问题就是说，你们有没有计划呢？就是把这些信息带到州府，因为呢 ，MBTA 还是一个麻州的一个机构。然后呢，这个 Winslow 议员呢，到时候会回答这个问题哈。还有呢，再就是我们有个网站，如果你们需要更多的信息，可以到我们的网站上面去浏览。
All set? Okay, Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I too want to commend you on a great survey, and I just want to, I always feel like I can't see anybody with this up there. Raise my seat up. But I want to commend you on a couple of things. The graphics absolutely are great, but I think one of the things that you really did well here is that you didn't clutter your survey. You literally came up with some very salient, workable points. It's not a laundry list of 25 things that people just go, oh, I don't know what to do with it. it really focused on what the issues are. One of the, in working with the T, obviously, it's more than just the City Council alone can do. It does take folks at the state legislature to actually work with us to try to enact some changes, even installing a bus stop. It's a process, but you've identified an issue, so it is definitely something that, we can move forward with, and I'm sure Councilor Winslow will be working with the state delegation on that. But the other issue that you really brought up that came through so clear was the needs of the students. And my big question is, have you presented this to the school committee? Because they really are the people that you need to get in front of so that they can make sure that the student population that they hear what their students that they're supposed to represent are saying. So if you haven't seen them before the end of this year and before you all run away to college, I would suggest that you try to get on their agenda, because there's some things that they'll be able to do here, I think, very quickly without a lot of red tape to help the situation. So once again, thank you. Great job. Thanks for coming in and seeing us.
Okay, thank you, Council Murphy. Now the gentleman's going to translate. You are doing a remarkable job. Well, then again, I don't know if you're doing a
We don't know
remarkable
what
job, but
you're
it
saying.
sounds like you're doing a remarkable job.
I might be lying. Thank you, Councilor. 那 Councilor Murphy 就说，我们的这个幻灯片做得很漂亮，大家做得很好哈，然后图片也很漂亮，然后你们的调查问卷也是非常清晰，讲得非常简单，不是像其他的讲这个问题25个不同的问题，我们非常关注于其中的一些很重要的地方。当然这些问题是需要市府和州府一起并肩作战，把这个事情给做好的。比如说我们要加一个巴士站哈，这个不仅仅是市府做的，而且是需要到这个州府同意。那这个部分呢，可能就要跟这个Winslow 议员就要去跟州政府这边去协商。还有呢，再就第二个建议呢，就是你们有没有去了解过学生的需求，在这个学校委员会这边做一个演讲，然后去了解一下我们学生对这个问题的一个感受，然后希望能够听到他们的代表声音。所以呢，在你们去到大学之前呢，请你赶快把它放进我们的学校委员会的议程中，希望这个可以帮到你。
Thank you. Council Winslow, you're next, but Council Crowe is, do you want to wrap it up, or do you want to, whatever way you want to go? Okay, so Councilor Crowe, let me just turn your mic on.
Just very brief, because Council Murphy kind of touched upon that. And first of all, excellent presentation. And I do think it's really important to get to the school committee, especially before the school year ends, as they're trying to figure out their plans sort of for next year, to get this on their agenda early, let them, think about it, as not just at the high school, but the K-8 schools, those, that's still taking the buses, or even in the parent information center where everybody has to come to register their kindergartner, make sure that information is there in multiple languages, and, even accessibility to if they're still signing up online. And I do think it's a good idea to have sort of on a rolling basis enrollment, so I'm not sure how that works with the T, but I think it really is to get to the school committee and the superintendent to make sure that it is on their radar, and so that they have a smooth transition at the beginning of the year or during whenever people are coming in. I think really to make sure that everybody gets access, and a fantastic job. Thank you.
Crowe 议员就说，你们做得很棒，然后同样的一个建议就是，希望你们可以带到学校委员会去，因为他们正在做下一年的这个学年的计划。不仅仅是高中，我们还可以去联系到从 K 到8年级，同时呢，我们可以去到他的信息中心，去他获取，希望更多的家长可以从中获到更多的信息，然后信息中心也会提供很多不同的语言。还有呢，就是我们也在去不断的去收集这个入学的数据。大家可以呢跟我们的校监一起去探讨一下，怎么样可以帮助到更多的学生，特别是我们下一年的学年马上就要开始了。
Council Winslow.
Yeah, I want to thank all the students once again. I think the information you're providing really shows the value of what work you've done. I think that's very important. And just for the public, we are in the midst of doing both a city assessment and the Mbta is doing assessment. So on Wednesday, June 1st, we have a meeting, a Zoom meeting the city will be having.
Oh, did I hit that, Council? I might hit that.
June 1st,
Sorry.
we will have a meeting on our transit action plan. So that's an opportunity for people to, make comments and find out what, provide input there. We are doing like a survey as well. And then on Wednesday, June 8th, the MBTA is doing a meeting focused on the Malden area about the bus route revision project. So it's very timely to be doing this, and just we will take this to our state delegation and make sure that the MBTA and people that are considering this right now are taking this into consideration. I think it is so important. I know when, if I show my time in Malden, when we moved here, Mal's Market got moved across the street to Stop and Shop. And I always say the example of how immediately the people who used to take the bus to Mal's insisted that we create a bus stop at Stop and Shop. So the fact that folks using Super 88 want to see that same type of thing is not surprising to me. And by having you do the survey, it reveals the importance of access to a grocery store, and culturally relevant grocery store is very important. So thank you so much again, and we look forward. Good luck with your graduations for those of you, and maybe we'll see some of you then next year who are the sophomores, and we'll continue. But great work. Thank you so much. Great.
为首议员呢就总结了最后的部分，就是说，你们提供了很多很重要的、很有价值的信息，还有就是我们的市府也在做一个检查，还有就是我们的州府呢也在做这样的一个调查，就是在6月1号和6月8号我们都会开会，然后去研究我们的公共交通的行动计划。还有在摩顿呢，这个 Mbta 呢正在做一个会议，叫做 Better Bus， 就是希望把我们的巴士做得更好。这也是一个非常即时的一个演讲哈，所以呢，如果有这些信息的话呢，我们到时候也可以提告我们的州府或者是 Mbta 这边，然后就希望可以把它给实行，然后这也是一个很重要的部分。之前呢，我们做过的这个研究呢和调查也是发现，在 Stop and Shop 那里开了一个巴士站以后呢，我们发现大家都喜欢过去那边去购物。我们希望呢能够让这个 Super 88这个88超市呢也可以获得这样的一个待遇，然后使更多的不同的文化的中国的居民也可以去到那里很方便的去这个中国超市。所以呢，如果大家是很快要毕业的，恭喜你们啊！如果大家还是继续留在摩顿市的高中的学生，我们可以继续明年再继续做这个项目。谢谢。
Okay, seeing that there are no more questions.
I got one statement. I got one statement and one request. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Oh, you go first.
Sure?
You have the floor.
Okay.
You have the floor.
So my statement's going to be, I think everybody kind of touched upon the amazing work, certainly the colored palette you picked in the presentation, and I don't mean that joking around. Simplicity is the hottest form in any type of survey, certainly when you're disseminating that much information, it's not that easy to get it in a simple form, and you've certainly achieved that. But more importantly, for any high school student to take on a project that involves public transportation, access to it, language barriers. Jokingly, I was probably still building the volcanoes with the baking soda and the vinegar, and what this group is doing is truly, it's inspiring, and it's scary that the youth are tackling such issues at a young age. So bravo to all of you. That's my statement. And my request is, I'm going to channel a little of the past president. I think we should have a picture with the council and this group, just to reflect. First of all, we want to have a picture with you rather than you having a picture with us. But I think it's important to certainly celebrate this achievement. So before we take the picture, I'll let you have your words, if you don't mind.
All right. Seeing that there are no more questions, this concludes our presentation. Thank you, council members, for your time. On behalf of everyone at A-VOYCE, I want to especially thank you today for listening to what we have to say. And I want to especially thank Councilor Winslow for his input last week, and just everyone here for their insightful input today. It means a lot to us. Yeah, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. All right.
Can we put up the A-VOYCE slide in the background?
The first one?
Yeah, the first one, did it say A-VOYCE? Yeah. This one. Yeah, that's good, that's perfect.
We have a youth photographer too. I have a nice camera. It's actually one of the youth, so. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the Youth Council, the ACDC, for that presentation. Clerk will call next order of business.
Board of Health Addiction Recovery Resource Specialist Paul Hammersley will appear before the council to discuss new resources available in the areas of addiction recovery and mental health.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Hammersley is here to kind of bring us up to date on what's going on in the city of Malden on the subject of substance abuse disorder. There's many fronts that we're attacking this on, whether it's
Motion to place on file. Before I do that, though, I do want to recognize that Mr. Alkins is here in the audience. So if there's a salute would be better, Mr. Alkins. I'm kidding. So thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. So on Councilor Seeker's motion to place on file, all those in favor? All those opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Alkins. Next order of business.
Under public hearings on National Grid petitions, paper 252-22, petition National Grid, 1101 Turnpike Street, North Andover, Mass., Plan number 305-11632 Main Street, National Grid to install beginning at a point approximately 60 feet northwest of the center line of the intersection of Main Street and Cross Street and continuing approximately 35 feet in a north direction, install one hand hole over an existing duct. Install 1 foot by 3 foot secondary duct approximately 35 feet towards 116 Main Street off proposed handhole.
Thank you. I'd like to, before I open up the public hearing, I was told that the Malden Access TV or UMA is no longer streaming right now. It's back on now? Okay. It's back on now? Thank you. Just want to let the public know if they're on, we're back on. So I'd like to open up, this is a public hearing, so I want to call the public hearing to order. All those who wishes to speak in favor of this petition, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Oh, we can do that. Hold on one second. Council, I want to just shift to Council Crowe. Then I'm gonna, 1 second. Council, you want to speak, Council Crowe? All right, you're gonna go right to the petitioner. You can speak and then I'll go back. Don't touch it, don't. You got, Council McDonald will give you directions. Don't touch. There you go. If you touch it, it shuts off, that's why. It's on. So state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Adel Wahed Nabat, 170 Medford Street, Malden. I'm here on behalf of National Grid Electric side. I just want to point out that this is a customer-driven job. That is, we're installing conduits. The customer will be asking for a permit to open up the sidewalk, and we'll be doing the restoration afterward. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, I will start with the Ward Council. Council Crowe for the paper. You 1 second, Councilor. Apologize. Go ahead, Council.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I did meet National Grid out at the site, and it's going from one manhole cover that's already on the sidewalk and just going down the street a little bit. And it's already some conduit, but it's going to sort of take an elbow into two different properties. So that they're only opening up 2 panels on the sidewalk to make that connection again from the sidewalk right into the buildings. And so there has already been a commitment that the sidewalks will be replaced with concrete as they are right now. And so I make a motion to approve this petition.
Okay, so before we get to make sure the public hearing
With
on
all
that.
the other, sorry.
Yep.
Conditions.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Council Winslow, I'm sorry. Council Winslow.
No, I just had a question. Is this kind of a one-day job, or is it going to be more? Yeah, how many?
It's a one-day
It
job.
should be less than 1 day, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
One day.
A few hours.
No, I'll have him repeat it. Okay, any other questions? Can you just repeat your name and address for the record so we will
Sure.
write it down?
It's Adel Wahed Nabat, 170 Medford Street, Malden.
Adele? Can you
Adele.
spell your last name? Because we're right.
Nabat. I have a business card.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be even better. Thank you, Nadal. Appreciate it. All right. So Councilor Crowe did make a motion, but I do want to open up the public hearing again. So I want to open up the public hearing for paper 25-22, which is National Grid's plan number 305-116-632 from Main Street. So all those in favor, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. All those in favor, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. All those in favor, please come forward and state your address for the record. I deem that portion of the public hearing closed. Now I'd like to open up the public hearing. All those in favor who want to speak against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. All those who want to come forward and speak against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Going once, going twice, anybody who's against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none and hearing none, I deem that portion of the meeting closed. Councilor Crowe has a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. 11-0. Next order of business.
10-0.
Huh?
10-0, we're missing one.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I said 11-0. You're right. Sorry, 10-0. Thank you. For those keeping score at home.
Paper 253-22, petition National Grid, 1101 Turnpike Street, North Andover, Mass. Plan number 305-43076, Commercial Street, National Grid to install beginning at a point approximately 350 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Commercial Street and Center Street and continuing approximately 80 feet in a southeast direction. Install 2x4 foot primary duct approximately 80 feet southeast from existing pole number 3 on sidewalk forward 0 Commercial Street for the purpose of serving the customers with electrical service.
Councilor Crowe for the paper.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, before even the petitioner kind of does his presentation, I actually want to make a motion to table this because the site that this is sort of happening in is the site that's on the corner of Commercial and Route 60, and we know that there is, there's been some talk about sort of the cleanup there, and there's a public involvement plan meeting scheduled for Wednesday, June 8th at 5:30 here at Malden City Hall, and I'd prefer to sort of hear what the plan is in its totality. I know that this is the electrical piece. What they want to do is electrical conduit from sort of where the Midas is over across to for some electrical vehicles, but I prefer to hear the plan first before we move forward with any other petitions on that site.
Okay, discussion on the motion. Seeing none and hearing none, so I have Councilor Crowe's motion to table, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Item is tabled. You're all set, Adele. Thank you. You're welcome. So before we go to the next order of business, I do want to just see if there's any objections. We do have several members of the Historical Commission here, as well as the City Planner, Michelle Romero. Would be anybody object if we just move them up from page 4 to the next one? Seeing one, there is, it's a lengthy document, but I think we'll get through it, but I do want to be cognizant of people's time. It is the Historical Commission. I don't want to see them getting any older. Any objections? Okay, so we're going to move up, so we're going to go to item on the docket 258-22. So clerk, if you could read that order of business, please.
Paper 258-22, communication, letter from the Historical Commission to the Malden City Council requesting approval of the relocation of the building located at 15 Ferry Street to Malden High School, 77 Salem Street, before the demolition delay period expires on May 31st, 2022.
Okay. There are several attachments, councilors, which you should have a copy of, and I believe Michelle Romero is going to come forward, the city planner. Did you give us copies as well? You made a couple, right?
Thank you. Michelle Romero, city planner and clerk to the Malden Historical Commission. I do have paper copies for everybody. I know sometimes there's an issue with retrieving them online during the course of the meeting.
All right, if you want to bring them up, Michelle.
So I would be happy to.
Lisa can pass them out for you.
Give them.
Bless you.
They're all the same, even though some look different. Thank you.
Michelle, if you don't mind, you want to introduce all the members of the Historical Commission that are here, just to let them know?
I'm sorry?
You want to introduce some of the?
Yes, I was going to.
Okay,
Do you
perfect.
want me to do that now? Thank
Yep.
you. So with me tonight are members of the Historical Commission, Chair John Tremendozzi, Vice Chair Joe Cesario. Also here tonight is Nelson Miller, the Building Commissioner, in case there are any technical questions about what we're going to talk about. Also here tonight is Roberto DeMarco, attorney for the property owner, Dr. Wang, who is also here tonight. And finally, also here tonight is Maria Louise of the Mayor's Office. I do want to, before I start, Yeah, they're all the same, even though some have a bigger photo. They're all the same, but I didn't, they weren't all with the same copy paper. Just some of them have a bigger size plan, but it's the same plan. Everybody has all the same information, which is the letter dated May 19th, 2022. And first, I would like to thank Council President Spataforos for sponsoring me to speak tonight and to receive this communication from the Historical Commission. I would also like to thank Councilor Spatafora while I have the chance. Last time I was before you talking about the revisions to the demolition and alteration delay ordinance, I did not give credit where it was due to Councilor Spatafora. He was the first proponent and the original sponsor way back in 2017 of the demolition ordinance. So we would not be here, demolition delay ordinance, we would not be here today. So I did want to thank Councilor Spatafora, and the Historical Commission did want to recognize his hard work as well to get us here today. The letter, if I could, I think I might be helpful. I can start to read it into the record and then add. I'll try to move as quickly as possible. This is about 15 Ferry Street. This is the Ida Converse building. It's also known as the Malden Industrial Aid Association building. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Malden Historical Commission. It is one of the remaining Converse buildings in the city, and the Commission is urging the Council to move swiftly to approve the proposed relocation of this building to the Malden High School site at 77 Salem Street before the demolition period expires on May 31st, 2022. That is when this historic building may be demolished. On May 19th, at its last meeting, the Commission received notice from the property owner and his attorney that they will agree to no further extension of the demolition delay period. This delay period has been in effect since June 5th, 2019. It has been continually extended by the owner and the Commission pursuant to the demolition delay ordinance. The delay period has provided years of opportunity to explore alternatives to demolition. At this time, the Commission is certain that the proposed relocation of the building is the only available alternative to the demolition of the building. The owner of 15 Ferry has agreed to relocate the building to a city property as a means to save the building. The owner has executed a memorandum of understanding with the city for the relocation. It's not in the letter. The memorandum includes moving the building, turning the building over to the city, and establishing a new foundation at the new site. So that will all be done at the developer's expense. They've agreed to that. The Malden High School site was identified as a feasible location site, specifically the open yard area on the corner of Salem Street and Holden Street. This proposed relocation is depicted on the photo simulations that you have. It's called Relocated Ferry Street. It's dated June 25th, 2021, prepared by CalSA Design Architects. It's supplemented by plans, new foundation and basement plan, first floor support plan, dated August 23rd, 2021, also prepared by CalSA Design Architects. It is also supported by reports. You have copies of these reports. These are the attachments. Preliminary conditions review in support of potential building move dated April 2021, prepared by Building Conservation Associates. And a narrative description of the proposed building relocation prepared by Structural Integrity Engineering Group. Those are all the attachments that I just passed out and that were included on the docket as attachments to this letter. The letter continues, the Commission supports this proposed relocation site because it allows the 15 Ferry Street building to remain in the historic Converse Square area. The historic significance of this building is documented in the attached Massachusetts Historical Commission Inventory Form, MAL 491. You also have a copy of that. Under the proposed location, this building will continue to be surrounded by properties listed on the National Register of Historical Places, including the Malden High School, the Davenport Estate, the Converse Memorial Library, and the Oddfellows Building, and many other historically significant properties listed on the Massachusetts Historical Commission Registry, such as the Central Fire Station and Salem Street Cemetery. A few points I would just like to add. I was trying to keep the letter brief to one page, but I want to note that 15 Ferry Street, the commission, the Historical Commission's review of it, and their work with the developer and property owner for 3 years illustrates how successful our demolition delay ordinance can work. It's an example of it working. The ordinance is established so that, the purpose of the ordinance is to establish a waiting period during which the city and the applicant can propose and consider alternatives to the demolition of a building of historical value to the city. As I mentioned, the initial delay period was started on June 6, 2019. It was amended January 27th, 2020, at which time this project was separated from the 1 Salem Street building. 1 Salem Street is the building that we lost, a historic building that was lost and demolished on the corner of Salem. December 2020, relocation proposals began to be considered. Early 2021, the high school location was identified. The last extension that was given was April 21st, 2022. So I want this council to know that on a monthly basis for 3 years, this applicant has worked closely with the City Historical Commission, and with other city officials to try to figure out how to save this building. They explored all possible alternatives, and again, finally have come to the relocation. The relocation site, as I mentioned, has been discussed since last year. I want you to note that this particular relocation site has the support of the mayor, Mayor Christensen. He is the one that worked to negotiate the memorandum of understanding with the developer, the property owner. He also provided updates to the Malden Historical Commission. This proposal in this specific relocation site is also supported by the Malden Historical Commission unanimously. All 5 members support it. The Superintendent of Schools, Noriega, the Malden High School Principal, Mastrangelo, the Malden Fire Chief Sullivan, the Malden Public Library, and I forgot to mention Director Dora St. Martin is also here tonight, and also the Davenport Estate. So it has community support from city officials and other entities in the area. I want to briefly just mention the unquestionable historical value of this building to the city of Malden, and emphasize this is a question of it being demolished or moved. So we are trying to, urge you to choose moving the building, not allowing it to be demolished. This is the Ida M. Converse building. It was built in 1906. You have all the details in the records that I've given you. It's one of the remaining Converse buildings. As I mentioned, it's located in Converse Square. When I say Converse, and I'm not trying to be smart, I want to make sure everyone knows this is Mayor Elisha Converse, the first mayor of Malden. He's a renowned philanthropist. The building was constructed for the Industrial Aid Society. That's a society that was founded by Mayor Converse in 1875 after the Boston Rubber Shoe Company fire in Edgeworth. It was founded to assist families and employees. So the building where it is now and its creation, its structure, everything fulfilled the Converse family philanthropic traditions. With the city's acceptance of the building, returning it to municipal use, municipal ownership, and the proposed relocation to that particular site, the corner of Holden and Salem Streets, which would be part of the Malden High School site, that also fulfills the Converse family goals. And the building will take its rightful place among the surviving public buildings donated by the Converse family in Malden. I don't mean to be dramatic. I can't emphasize enough. This really is a question of, is that building going to be demolished or is it going to be saved by relocation to that particular site? As I mentioned, the delay period will expire May 31st, thus the urgency of this request by the Historical Commission to ask you to act as soon as possible, if possible at all tonight, to accept the relocation proposal. I mentioned the others that are here tonight that can answer technical questions I may not be able to answer about the proposal, and with that, I'll end. Thank you again for your consideration.
So if you can stay there, let's open
Yes.
up for questions. Councilor Winslow has the mic first. Councilor Winslow.
I have a question for our council here. You talk about the delay period expiring on May 31st, 2022. What time of day would that? I mean, that's a week from today, so I just have a question. Is there an interpretation we might have, or I mean, does it have to be close of business? We have to make a decision, or so I don't know if Attorney DeMarco, or I mean, is it midnight? I'm just curious.
Good evening, Council. Roberto DeMarco, 17 Division Street, Malden, Massachusetts, residence, and 350 Main Street, Malden is my business, Foster Walker and DeMarco. To answer your question, Councilor, my interpretation of your ordinance and of our agreement is that it would be the close of business. It's impossible to extend once business is over for the day.
All right, thank you.
I'm also here to give you any background that you'd like. Thank you.
I will have
Thank
further
you.
comments, but if other people have questions, great.
Okay, thank you, Council. Council O'Malley.
Thank you, City Planner Romero and the Historic Commission, the property owner, as well as Council. Fully in support of saving the building, fully in support of moving the building. The only question I do have, the reports that we have been given do show that the structure does have some issues, and the concern that the Historic Commission and myself, and we've all pretty much had, is that moving the building is obviously very perilous for the structure itself. The goal has always been to not move it if possible, or move it as little as possible. The first proposal that the Historic Commission, I think, ideally wanted was to stay in the current location and to design the project around it. The second proposal was to move it only maybe like 50 feet over to the parking lot directly next to it, and still maintain access to that parking lot. That's the ideal circumstance, I think, with what we're facing. A third option was floated out there, which would be to move it across the street on Ferry Street to a side lawn that is near the cafeteria. Since that came up, there was some discussion about whether or not there's infrastructure under that lawn. And we heard from the petitioner's contractor or consultant, our former building commissioner, Scott Fitzpatrick, that he doesn't think it's possible. I have asked our building commissioner, Nelson Miller, as well as Eric Rubin, our public facilities director, to look into whether or not what is being proposed in that location is not possible. I'm not 100% opposed to this location. I do think that having an exact location on that field is going to be crucial. Obviously, there are very mature oak trees in that area, making sure they're not in the drip line, making sure you're not completely sacrificing the little open space that our students do have for this, I think is crucial. I'm willing to hear what the rest of the colleagues say. I think that we can move forward and say, let's move it to the high school. I do think the exact location probably is a little bit up in the air, and understanding what exactly you want us to take action on tonight, it needs to be clarified. I mean, obviously we can pass a resolve saying that we are willing to do that, but I think accepting something like this does require some type of formal action. Thank you.
Response?
It's my understanding that you would need to take action to authorize the acceptance of the building and the moving to that particular location. It is my understanding, based on the petitioner's representations, that they will withdraw the demolition application once the agreement's already signed. For a while, we were waiting for this memorandum of agreement to be executed. It was executed back in March. So right away in April, we got one further extension. Everybody agreed to it so that we could finalize the details. But I understand that once the other locations started to be circulated again, there was a concern that we were not moving forward. But I understand that if you move to accept the building and I accept that location, then they can withdraw the demolition application. So the demolition period expiring will not have the effect. So they would need to do that. Again, come May 31st, if this isn't, approved and set, it's my understanding June 1st, they can file for a demolition permit, or it can be issued. And in fairness, it may be this owner or a future owner, you know, that does it. This owner is representing they may not necessarily do it the next day, but it would be their right to do it. And I would not recommend we take any chance at all and get to that June 1st date without this being officially, formally approved and accepted. I don't know if Louise has more information on this memorandum of understanding, or the petitioner does, but it's a written document that the mayor has signed and the owner has signed that agrees to the terms that I talked about. I just understand it doesn't specify the location. So, because you need to approve the location, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong if that's not the case.
All right, so I have some more questions, but just so I'm clear, because I'm simple-minded sometimes. So the ask here is, we either, we take action, or we could risk the developer come June 1st, say, because there's no cost, right? The city has no cost incurred. They're gonna pay to move the facility. They're gonna pay to put the foundation in. We're gonna give them the land. I know Council O'Malley's point is where on that parcel in the corner, that's fine, but we'll give them the land so there's no cost. So the developer's gonna have some money to pay up if they decide to go this way. If we don't, the developer, not saying they would, but they could June 1st, get an application, tear the building down, and we lose the building, correct?
They actually already have the application in. That's the application that's been in the delay period for 3 years. So they could, the permit could be issued June 1st.
Okay, just so I'm clear, that's, I think that's, I
Yes.
wanted to get that in my head. So now let's go to the list. Councilor McDonald.
Thank you. I just have a number of questions about this, and I don't know who the right person to direct this to is. My first is, so if we move this house to the lawn on the high school, does the developer still own the house, or do we own the house?
It will be transferred, the ownership will be transferred to us. We will
So
own
the
it.
city owns the house. And has there been any conversation about what we're gonna do with this house, or how much it will cost to
There have been
just to
multiple
renovate it?
conversations. I don't think anything's been formally finalized as to what municipal use it might have. I know there has also been discussions with the mayor and historical commission about possible CPA, applying for CPA funds to renovate the inside for whatever use we determine. That has not been determined. And I understand that's not a condition to any of this. That is gonna be up to the city to decide afterwards.
My next question is I appreciate you said that the superintendent and the high school principal are in support of this, but obviously this, has the potential to be quite disruptive to the high school, and so is there can you share more about what the process has been in engaging the school department? Has the school committee looked at this? Have they done any consideration, any sense of what the impact's gonna be on the high school community to do this?
I understand the mayor has spoken directly to the superintendent, and as you know, the mayor is the head of the school committee. I don't know if he's brought it to the school committee's attention. He has represented to me that I am authorized to tell you that he has spoken directly with the superintendent and the school principal, and they are in support of it, as well as those other, the fire chief and Davenport Estate. The director of the library, as I said, is here and can represent if you wanted to hear from her.
And my final question is, have there been any conversations about the loss of green space is concerning? I mean, this is one of the, kind of hottest areas because there's a lot of pavement, a lot of built environment, and this is like one of the primary green areas in the center of the city. And has there been any discussion about ways to address the heat effects or look at other ways to reclaim some green space if we lose it as a result of this building?
I'm not aware of any. I'm sure that would be something that's going to be looked at. The building has a, finite footprint, and as you can see from the proposed photo sims, the proposal is to save at least the major tree that's out front and many of the other trees. There'll be lawn around it. This isn't going to become, a paved parking lot. At least that's my understanding of it. I don't think we have gotten that far. Again, the urgency is to accept that you want it saved and you do not want it demolished, and you agree to the relocation. If you want to make that agreement conditional upon all these other areas being addressed to your satisfaction, I'm sure everybody will work with you to do that.
Just one final question. Procedurally, what would happen if we tabled this tonight and took the vote next? Well, I guess we don't have it, so we can't pass it in. We can't pass it in committee of the whole, right? We'd have to pass it tonight. Is that what we're saying here?
He said close of end of business day.
Right, but if you can't apply to the permit, I mean, I'm just trying to understand, is there any way to not have to make a final decision right at this moment and to have a little more time to get input as needed?
I mean, I would defer to, somebody, I think Council Spatafora just said, the building permit wouldn't be issued till the next day. I thought you were asking our counsel about it, not counsel for the petitioner, but maybe you want to hear from the city solicitor. I think it would be close of business when you close your business. I mean, you're still conducting business May 31st until you finish the business. So I don't think that it's not my opinion that matters, but I think you could certainly, I think you have until then. But I would defer to Nelson Miller as well, whether he would issue the permit.
So let me interject real quick,
when.
because maybe we can save some time in the debate. Can I call up their attorney, Mr. DeMarco? So Mr. DeMarco, you see there's a lot of lights on here, there's a lot of questions. I don't think there's any intent for us not to save the building. It's just a question of relocation. Would your client be prepared to extend the demolition delay another week? It allows us to have another full week. So the following Tuesday, and we will have some more clarity and give us some time. If not, we're probably gonna have to debate this here right now. So,
If I may, Council, I'd just like to make sure that the Council's aware. We've worked for 3 years.
Yep.
In voluntarily extended this. My client is a scientist. He's not a developer. He bought the 1 Salem Street building, just for a way of background so everybody's aware. He bought the 1 Salem Street building in order to move his research laboratories. He does statistical analysis for determining the cross-section of test patients necessary to test new drugs. He's experienced working with the CDC, the FDA, and with Johnson & Johnson. That's what he did. He has a laboratory out in Burlington and has 20 employees doing this work all the time. He bought 1 Salem Street to move that business here to Malden, to be closer to Boston and Cambridge and all these client base. 1 Salem Street, unbeknownst to him as well as lots of people, we went through a lot of debate, we worked with the commission, was falling down. We all saw the rocks hit the sidewalk. It was built at a time when concrete was wrapped around steel girders because they thought that was stronger. And what happened was, as we know today, those steel girders deteriorated and structural engineers said the building had to come down. That was financially devastating for him. There was a loan on that building with a local bank. The bank, as many of you who are in business know, banks don't like it when their property gets demolished. He worked with the bank to extend as much as possible time. He purchased 15 Ferry with the idea that he would leverage himself into restoring his financial stability because a bigger project would allow him to do more in terms of bringing his business here, as well as create, and you'll see this in the news story as well as the memorandum of understanding, create first-time home buyer condos. Affordable condos before you ever did your adjustment of housing here in Malden. He pledged to give 5 affordable condos, another 47 fair market value condos, all of them to be sold, and he would use the rest of the space for his research laboratories, except for a space that he was offering the city to try to design to bring the teen center back to the location at the request of the mayor. The teen center, including those great students who were here from A-VOYCE, those were his tenants. And so this gentleman has done everything we want a new business owner in this city to do. He has struggled against financial obstacles against time, against structure, to try to do his best to be a good citizen of the city that he doesn't even live in. He then was told, time's up by the bank.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, Council. You're on a roll. You're on a roll.
No, I'm just letting you know.
I get it.
Time is up.
I get it. So my question to you is...
I can speak with him and see if we can get you another week.
So here's my request. As the president, we're gonna have a vote on this. We're either gonna vote tonight, or we're gonna vote in another week. So I just wanna give my colleagues enough time to research. I personally don't think we're gonna vote to tear this down, right? And we risk that if you don't give us the extension another week, or we're gonna sit here and debate it, right? So my question to you is, we could probably go home a little bit earlier if your client, I don't mean to put the burden on your client, but 7 more days.
We will, on the record tonight, we'll give you an additional week of time. We'll talk to the bank tomorrow and get you guys the time.
All right, so that's gonna give us, so we get everything in the record here. I thank you to your client, I appreciate that. So instead of the 31st, we can still go through the lights, but the 7th is, so, Ms. Ramiro?
We will, the Historical Commission will convene and accept that. The petitioner can give us that in writing, and we will, the commission can only be extended by agreement of the owner and the commission. So they will convene to accept that to the June 7th date expiration.
All right, so we'll put on the record for the June 7th. I will go around with the questions, but I just wanted to hopefully give everybody enough time. Council McDonough, you still have the floor.
Just expressing my gratitude to the petitioner for being willing to work to us, and we want to ensure that the goodwill of the community continues through this project, and I think this is just a little bit of time to do our due diligence so that we can make sure that that support is present will help the project entirely in the long run. So thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. So, Councilor Winslow.
I do want to say I do appreciate the incredible patience that Mr. Wing has, Dr. Wing has shown here. Thank you so much. I want to really emphasize to my fellow councilors that when I think of this project, I think of something that the former councilors really messed up on years ago. In Maplewood, we had the 1851 Maplewood train station. This was before demolition delay. And we had an owner who said, well, I'll move it somewhere, but we did not accept the building and we did not find a location. That building sat there down by Charles Rowe for 3 years because nobody could figure out where it was. Charles Rowe thought he should put it somewhere, but the utilities weren't there. His attorney was stubborn, not like Mr. DeMarco, who's been very creative. And that building, ultimately, the ward council there, Councilor Murphy's predecessor, I think if Councilor Murphy was there, we probably would have saved that thing. That building was torn down. It's a sad thing. I would personally be willing to make a motion that we approve this tonight, but I appreciate another week for my fellow councilors, but let's not dilly-dally. 3 years is a heck of a long time, and do we want to put our, effort where our commitment is in historic preservation? Sometimes you gotta make a decision. I think a lot of hard work's been going on here, and I think I would fully support accepting this building and moving it and accepting the location here at the high school. So, but I'm willing to defer a week just to make sure everybody do their due diligence, but I just, I think very adamant. It's hard, 11 people to negotiate this type of thing. This is why you have a mayor and executive commission. This is why we have a historical commission. We have to defer to that. 3 years is a heck of a long time. This has been a difficult thing. Let's move forward, preserve a building. Let's get that hole down at 1 Salem Street going forward. And we look foolish if we are going to be the impediment to making this happen. So let's take a week, but I'm committed to moving ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Well said. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I think many of my colleagues have said a lot of what I was feeling, which is, we have to balance a lot between the preservation and the loss of the open space and potentially the impacts to the trees. I appreciate the flexibility in having another week to sort of do that due diligence. For me, I would love to understand the impact to the tree, and the trees, what's staying, what's going to be potentially coming down. You know, I don't have a child that's quite that age yet, so I haven't engaged with the site as a parent of a student, but I know as someone who's attended many community events there's a lot of spillover into that space. It is sort of a nice space to just sort of breathe and not be surrounded by concrete. I'd love to understand how, if at all, it's going to affect the students that use the school. I don't really know how it's used right now. Again, I don't have a child at the high school. These are just some of the things that I'm going to be keeping in mind, but I'm definitely supportive of preserving the building. I think we can find the right solution here. But, you know, it is a big decision to give up green space in an area that just doesn't have a lot right now. So.
Understood. Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor Cologne-Hayes.
Thank you. I'm in full support. I would actually vote also tonight to save the building. I have no issue with that. What I am very concerned with is the communication with the school. I heard that the superintendent has spoken with the mayor, but I would also like to include our youth at Malden High School. We all see how involved they are, and I think that it would be nice just to at least let them know. We could do something like that, but I'm also concerned about the child care. There's a child care for the Malden High School students and teachers like right around the corner from there. So if that was going to affect that area in any way, do they use it? That's just a question I would, you know, like to ask. And also if they just knew about it, like what's the construction going to be? Is it going to be disrupted at all to that child care agency in the schools? But aside from that, I think the Historical Commission has done a tremendous job of keeping this on the forefront. I hope we save this building, and I would vote tonight, but I will definitely take a week to have my other counselors do some research.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Sika.
Thank you, Council President. Unlike my colleagues, I am not in favor of postponing this vote this evening. I think that we've had 3 years. And I have done my due diligence. I spoke to Nelson Miller earlier today about this paper, asking a bunch of questions. I drove by the high school on the way here just to kind of get a feel of where we were going to be potentially putting it. Today was the first day I heard that it wasn't going to go on the corner. It possibly may not go on the corner of Holden and Salem, and that it was looking to be moved across the street. Well, lo and behold, when I drove by, there were no students hanging out on the grass near the little tiny house on the corner of Holden and Salem, but there was a bunch of them that were sitting at the tables on the side that I heard of today that is being proposed. So I'm not quite sure why at the 11th hour we're trying to figure out where this building's going. To me, it's pretty simple. We're either going to let this gentleman tear this building down, or we're going to put it at the corner of Holden and Salem Street, where it belongs, if you want my honest opinion. In that particular 4 corners, say, the historical, aesthetically pleasing, that's where it belongs, with the fire station, the Davenport, the library, and now where the tiny house is. There's actually a garden there. To Carrie McDonald's point, I understand, you know, all the different logistics, but those can be done after. We don't have to determine how if we're going to use pavers, if we're going to use pavement, if it's going to be cemented, if we're going to plant trees. If you move the building across from 15 Ferry Street, you're actually going to lose several trees as opposed to the location on the corner of Salem and Holden. So I would like to make a motion that we approve this evening. I don't think we should hold it up a week because, I don't know, Mr. DeMarco, but let's just say this gets approved this evening. It's faster for this gentleman to get a foundation in during the summer months while the children are not attending classes at Malden High School. So there will be not as much disruptiveness, thank you, if we get this done this evening. The longer we wait, the longer it's going to take for Dr. Wang to get somebody to put the foundation. We have this gentleman who is willing to pay to have this building moved. Let's move it. That's it. Let's move it. Let's vote on this tonight. This has been years in the making. I've seen pictures of this years ago. We all knew it was going on the corner of Salem and Holden. To sit here and drag our feet this evening is ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hold on, everybody. We got a second. We got a question. We have some lights on those. So discussion of the motion, Counselor. Seeker, I'm sure you don't mind, so we have that. So we have a couple things going on. So let's go down the line. Counselor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Winslow, ditto.
Okay.
Sum that up real quick. Everything you said, yes.
Okay.
I am in full support of voting this out this evening. I think, at this point, we're trying to micromanage a project that has been discussed ad nauseum for 3 years. There has been a good plan that has been presented, and we have a number of people who are the folks who have been living and breathing this for 3 years have come to an agreement on how to move forward, how to save this precious building. And I think that I'm going to say is a testament to Barbara Tolstrup, who we were giving a Lifetime Achievement Award today for one of the first preservationists in the city of Malden. She would be horrified if she was sitting here right now that this discussion was even taking place. We need to save this building. It's going in a perfect location. And I am fully prepared to vote this out favorably this evening. So that's...
Thank you, Counsel Murphy. Counsel Condon. Oh, sorry, Counsel, 1 second. Counsel Condon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's a very simple question here. No one on this city council is going to vote to destroy that building. All right, they're going to come back in with a week extension. And knowing the historical commission, they're as thorough as any board or commission we have in this city. Whatever questions may be going through our minds, I'm sure that the historical commission has already investigated. And then working with Michelle, we all know how she is. She can be tenacious, but very thorough. So I'm ready to vote to take on this building, and let's do it, because you're just delaying it a week. And if anybody's worked with the Historical Commission, you know how thorough they are. And they take their time and they do things right. So let's just move on, take the vote tonight, and get this done.
Fair enough. Thank you, Counsel. Counsel O'Malley.
Thank you. I think there has been some inaccurate things said tonight, particularly by the council and Councilor Seco specifically. We've worked together with the Historic Commission for years, writing the demolition delay ordinance, passing it. It was originally not Councilor Spatafora's idea, but the Historic Commission's idea. And we worked collaboratively, Councilor Spatafora.
No, you're wrong, Counsel.
And myself and Councilor Di Maria, and we passed it. And it is going to save this building, and I do appreciate, Doctor, your willingness to work with us. I do have a bit of a problem with the way in which this came about, though, because it was unilaterally decided that it was going to go on this corner without any public engagement, really. At the time, in opposition by the Historic Commission, and it was just kind of announced in the newspaper. And from the beginning, I've said, and even the Historic Commission said, hey, like, this building is if we really want to save the building and not just make it appear that we want to save the building on TV, the ideal circumstance would be to move it as little as possible. If you open and really did your due diligence, Counselor, and read this report, you'd see that it's not in the best structural soundness, and moving a wooden building is much easier because it's more malleable than moving a brick building. So there's no guarantee that this building is going to make it all the way around the corner. The best case scenario would be to move it as little as possible. I would also be okay with voting on it tonight because I don't want it to be knocked down. But I do think it would behoove all of us to try to find a location that's closer to actually save the building, if that's the goal. And we have a very easy place to put that. It's a underutilized parking lot directly next door. The decision was made by the administration, not in consulting me, the ward councilor, not in consulting the council as a whole, to move it all the way around the corner. I don't exactly know why. But it's the reason why we're having this discussion now in public rather than working together. I did approach the council president. I didn't even know this was going to be on the agenda. It would have been great to have been given that heads up. I appreciate that Councilor Spadafora said that he would give me that heads up in the future. I do think there's ways to get things done in our community in the best possible way, including the public. I'm okay with voting on this tonight. I do think we should find a closer location. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Councilor, who's next? Condon, you all set? Who else has their mic on? Oh, Crow, I'm sorry, Councilor Crow. For some reason I didn't notice it. Councilor Crow, sorry. I'm sorry,
No, that's right.
Didn't
Thank
see
you,
it on the
Mr.
screen.
President. And I'm actually in favor of making this vote tonight because I do think that we all agree we want to preserve the building. There is sort of some discussion whether this is the right location. I don't think in a week, if in 3 years we have not found another location, maybe, you mean other things were brought up. I don't know the reasons why some of the other areas were excluded, but we're not going to be able to undo 3 years of work in 1 week. So it just sort of, we're going to be taking the same vote this week as we take next week or the week after. So I'm in favor of, and I'm prepared to vote favorably on this. And again, after 3 years of work, we're going to be able to make all these decisions and figure out what we can do. If it's going to be sound to move it around the corner, can we move it across the street? Can we do all these things in a week? We're not going to be able to do that. So it's inevitable that it's going to be the same vote today. It is going to be next week. So I am in agreement that we take a vote on it tonight.
Okay. Council Garner, your light on? No. It is, but I'll excuse you. Okay. Ms. DeMarco, thank you. I was going to call you Council. Thank you, Councilor, for your client's indulgence, but it seems like we have enough votes to go forward. I will say this. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor. I thought I saw a light. I'm going, Councilor McDonald.
I can go.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, it seems like the will of the council is to take a vote on this tonight. So, I also care about saving the building, of course, because the connections to Malden history are precious and far between. So I, of course, support that. I would like to ask Maria Louise, who's here, just for a commitment on behalf of the mayor's office, if that seems viable, to work on the ability to find additional green space that gets lost in this project, and that might be in smaller parcels or be addressed through other types of, tree-related issues. But I don't know if that's something that you all have discussed, but hopefully, given the timing of this, would be able to have a lot of this happen during the summer, where there's less happening in the school. But I wanted to know if you would be able or willing to commit to the partnership on working on the green space question.
I'm certain that we can commit to that, absolutely. There hasn't been any definite plans about what's going to happen with the building once it's moved, or how the move's going to, take place. That wasn't part of the MOU, and that is something that we will be discussing.
Thank you.
You all set, Councilor McDonald?
Just one other.
Oh, sorry.
This is a technical, not for Maria necessarily, but so if we vote on the location, if we vote, we vote tonight, and also I would like to know exactly what the language of the motion is that we vote on, since I see the approval of the letter, but I don't see a motion. So I want to know basically, are we finalizing that it must go in this exact location, or how, is that in the window of where it can look?
Can I interject real quick, Mr. McDonald?
Please.
So I see the building commission in the back. So if you don't mind, would you come forward? Because maybe you can help us with, I know we're not going to have an exact location, I think what Councilor McDonald's asking, but considering you have some experience with building and foundations in that plot of land, any help with limitations, recommendations on that spot, et cetera? I know it's a tough question, but.
Well, some of the limitations that have already been addressed are the location of the building relative to the trees that was discussed. And then obviously access to the building so that you have accessible means of egress. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense to put it really far away from the sidewalk closer to the high school itself. It would make it sense to put it closer to the sidewalk without impacting the trees. But I think, as Maria Louise said, an exact location was never laid out. A survey hasn't been done, and a foundation plan hasn't been put together for it. So there is no exact spot.
So I think, Mr. McDonald, to counsel, and I'm not saying you're done, but what Maria Louise, excuse me, what Michelle Romero did mention, we might want to put some conditions on there saying to move it, but come back with exact locations, et cetera. I mean, I think the ask here is just to finalize this deal, and Ms. Romero, please jump in if you want to say anything. Go ahead.
I just wanted to give that, you asked for the specific location, and it should be, you are voting to, or you're motioning, you're deciding to accept this building, 15 Ferry, as public property, and to be relocated to the Malden High School site at the corner of Salem and Holden. That is what the request is, or the ask, as you say. Any conditions or, recommendations you want to make to that relocation, but the key thing is that you are going to accept it. Then the demolition permit application can be withdrawn.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for Councilman McDonald, but I think the question would, can we say it's going to go in the corner, but instead of going 10 feet to the right, it's going 10 feet to the left?
No, you're not going to, right, you're just going to accept it as public property, accept the building, and for the location, I would leave the location general. It's 77 Salem, it's Malden High School site, and the corner of Holden and Salem. That's the whole section of the property. It doesn't need to be, it can be loosely written, but that is what the request is.
Councilman McDonald, you have the floor.
No, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman O'Malley for the third time.
To Councilor McDonald's point, to do this correctly, another reason to try to include all stakeholders rather than just throwing things on the docket. This is only a communication, and we do need to post something like accepting a gift from someone, accepting something as public property. So I say that we move on this communication and we pass whatever type of motion that we need to pass tonight to show the petitioner and his counsel that we are willing to accept this as public property. But if we want to do this, bless you. If we want to do this the correct way, I think that we post this correctly next week with the right language, clarified by our legal counsel, about how to accept a gift. We've done it before at Rose Quarry. Remember, we had to accept the gift for Rose Quarry to do the lights. Councilor Sika, remember we got money from Rose Quarry to do over the intersection at Beach Street. We had to put very specific language on the docket to accept that gift. Florence Street, the Gattineri building, 15 Ferry, whatever it is, Florence Street. In order to accept that money to do over Florence Street, we had to put that language on the docket. I do not think what we have on the docket tonight affects that, or actually affects what we're trying to do. So I think we should move forward. I do think it makes sense to put this on next week's docket. We can suspend the rules to take up business, but it is really important to include all stakeholders so we get things right. Thank you.
If I, Council?
Go ahead.
I want this done. My client wants this done. However, I want to make sure that it's done in a way that does not create a disruption or further delay. And I absolutely appreciate what is being said here tonight. My client has waited long enough. I would state that, in my opinion, that a resolve to accept the building into the public, into public properties, and for the council to vote on a location within a time certain would be enough for us to be able to push the bank off. I understand Councilor O'Malley's position. The last thing I want is for there to be a contest to this that further delays us all after I have then fulfilled my side of the promise and turned around and withdrawn a demo permit, and then suddenly we have a challenge. And if the challenge were to occur because of some issue, and I'm stuck at the beginning of another year wait because I have to reapply to demo this building because that's where I'm stuck. My client stands a really significant risk of having some very bad legal ramifications to him. So a resolve to accept the building or to vote on the building's acceptance into the public registry and to pinpoint the location between the parties within 30 days. We're going to need the time in order to do the surveys, as Mr. Nelson has stated, the building commissioner has stated, would satisfy, I think, the lender and get us moving in the right direction. I want it posted accurately and not to have that potential issue that would create a problem for my client. So I understand and I appreciate what councilors are talking about in moving this quickly, but I think that for my client's best interest, we need to ask that this be posted accurately as a motion and that the resolve occur as we've requested, and then put it up for a formal vote. And that I would like to be done in a way that limits the amount of time we're all going to be negotiating a place, right?
Yes.
If you say to me...
Let me just interrupt you. This is not a resolve. This is on the docket. There's a motion to vote on it right now.
Okay.
Right, this is not a resolve. I think the
as long
resolve was thrown around there. I will ask our legal department to answer Councilor O'Malley's questions, because I would also question, we probably can't even do that yet in terms of the gift, because there's a foundation that he's agreed to pay for, which if I was your client and I'm giving you a gift, I want the price of that foundation included in that gift, because I'm sure he's going to write off some of it, and he probably should.
Absolutely.
So that probably can't happen until we have the location picked out and the cost of the foundation. At that point, if we want to codify the vote. This vote, in my opinion, is just accepting the property and that we're going to move it to the location. And at that point, we haven't gotten the property yet. We're just instructing you, the client, that we're willing to accept it. When we're ready to change hands and titles and deeds and all the fun stuff, then we'll ask the legal department to put on their cap and tell us exactly what, if needed, is another vote to take place. But I intend not to delay this, given the council's decision right now.
And if that's the way we're going to do it, so we don't face a legal issue, I'm perfectly in support of that. And thank you.
All right, Councilor Sika, and then we're going to go to Councilor Colin Hayes, and then we're going to wrap it up. Councilor Sika.
You read my mind, Councilor Spatafor. I was going to say that this paper is not a resolve, it's actually a communication, and I would like to move my motion to approve this, please.
Thank you. Councilor Hayes?
I'm,
Colin Hayes,
like I
sorry.
said, that's okay, thank you. Like I said earlier, I'm fully in support of voting on this tonight. I have no issues with it, but if we're going to be able to ask for some, I think you were saying some conditions, would I be able to put in somewhere that the high school, all the stakeholders at the high school are made aware of this, so not to cause a panic? I'm not sure, they might have already been aware, but just that a building's going to be put on their lawn. That's it. Thank you.
Councilor Mira?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to note that the urgency of this, and I thank you again for accepting this onto the docket, was because we were just notified on Thursday, the 19th, that there would be no further extension. So that was just Thursday. The docket, by, fortune, whatever you want to call it, didn't close on time. So we were able to get it onto the docket as a last-minute request. So that was the urgency of the whole thing, how it came to be on the docket without any, real advance warning. We didn't have advance warning. I say we. The Historical Commission did not have any advance warning when it opened its meeting on Thursday, the 19th, that they weren't going to be given an additional extension, because up until now, we'd been given the extensions, they were moving forward to do the relocation, they had the memorandum signed. This was a very, very shocking surprise to the commission, that now it was going to end within the next week after. So I would just recommend, and I would defer to our legal counsel. I'm not an expert on your rules. We're asking you to approve acceptance of the building. And
15 Ferry.
15 Ferry, and approval of the location. Now, that's a general location. It's not done by a survey, so that is the specific part. I didn't, I don't agree with the idea, well, we'll have 30 days to find the location. That makes it sound like we're gonna start to look for a new location. I think it should be the location at 77 Salem.
Yep.
You know, so it's gotta be very specific to that extent.
And that's a block. That's a
I'm
city-
sorry?
That's basically 77 Salem Street is a block, a city block.
Yes, it is. You know, that, the part that where they're proposing to put this next to that, that is, you know, fairly new. At one point, that wasn't there either. So, I mean, things change, but I don't want to, you know, change, or, you know, I'm not asking you to violate any rules or to put this in a situation where it could be subject to legal challenge. I think you're not accepting a deed tonight. You're not accepting the specifics. You're accepting essentially in concept. You're approving, you're accepting the building. You're stating that you're willing to do that. So I think all the technical details, specific location, the deeds, the foundation, the schedule, all that is going to happen after this. That's not before you tonight. So that's all I wanted to add, but I would say any conditions about preserving open space or green space or notifying the public or the school community, I mean, you certainly can recommend those and put those into any motion. I think those were the things I had, the school communication and the preservation of open space were the two issues. I mean, you could state exact location on the site to be determined. I mean, you can put that in your decision tonight.
All right, I think we're gonna move forward, Ms. Romero, because I believe we have a question in the committee. I just want to say, I haven't had the opportunity other than the fact that, so I appreciate the petitioner is willing to work with us. I did not want to see a tabling motion, to be quite honest with you. I wanted to move forward, given we had a deadline. I will say this, there is no perfect location for this other than the spot it's in, but we know we can't do that. The second thing is, I think the location, I'm not crazy about the location, but in the same token, it does fit in with the architectural area. And also, I think what really gets me excited a little bit is, there is no better place. This was built with the intent for the industrial revolution, and it was built by Converse after the Converse Rubber Company. And there's no better classroom than I think this building to show the Malden High students what this community is about, what it's overcome, and it's right there. It's a living, breathing representation of this community and its hard work. And certainly the immigration that's come through the borders of the city of Malden. The second thing I would say is, I'm willing to take the risk that it cracks moving to that building than seeing a wrecking ball tear it down. Because I think Councilor Winslow said it best. I remember seeing that train station in front of Charles Rowe, and it's sickening to do that. And again, Council Barbara Murphy also mentioned Barbara Toaster. These are very, very little treasures left in this community, and any way we can save them, while not our deal, is our job. And I am willing to take that opportunity to move this. And then finally, I think there's a lot of talk about preservation of open space. We do live in the city of Malden. There is very limited. Councilor Winslow and I are looking at a spot in his Ward 6. And there's other small parcels in the city that I would tell everybody, run the list. And I don't mean this to be in a negative way, but I ran that list and sent it to the council, and I got in trouble because it was an open meeting violation. The intent was, there is small parcels in everybody's ward that are either not being used. Advocate for the Community Preservation Act to buy those small pieces, build pocket parks, or limit them. So there's ways to do it, Councilman McDonald, and I completely agree. We should buy up all that space and deed it so we can never build anything on there. Because even if it's 2,000 square feet or 3,000 square feet, the neighbors in that area would much appreciate it. So I'm in fully support of this. We do have a motion. So Councilor Sika has the motion, seconded by Councilor Winslow. Are there any? Councilor Cologne Hayes, you have your light on.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you don't.
Could I add one quick comment? That,
Quick.
The Historical Commission, as someone said, fully vetted this. They were very concerned that a proper company be done to do the move. It's going to be licensed, bonded, insured. These are specialized companies that do these moves.
Yep.
They're not, just not specialized. So that will all be taken care of.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments? I see the members of the committee here shaking your head. Ready? Okay, we're gonna ready for the vote. So on Council Sika's motion, you want to read the motion, Council Sika? We make sure we get it on the record, which I think is to accept. Oh, I gotta turn, I'm looking at you, I gotta turn it on. Sorry, Council.
My motion is to approve the relocation of the building located at 15 Ferry Street to Malden High School to 77 Salem Street before the demolition delay period expires on May 31st, 2022. And I think the city planner mentioned to specify the corner of Salem and Holden Street, correct?
Yes, you could say the area at the corner of Salem and Holden Street. That is the preferred location by the Historical Commission, as well as the other groups.
Okay.
Okay.
Seconded by Council Winslow? Oh, wait, I'm
not
sorry.
done yet. And we're accepting the building?
And to accept the building
And
as
to accept.
public property. There'll be more formal things you have to do that, but you would be able to do that.
Okay, and to accept the building.
Okay, everybody got that? Councilor Winslow seconded that motion, correct? Council Winslow, just to reaffirm that. Let's do a roll call. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes. Condon. Crowe. Linehan. McDonald. Murphy. O'Malley. Seacom.
Yes.
Simonelli. Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes. Passes, congratulations, 10-0.
Thank you.
Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, sir. Thank you. You're welcome. Good luck. Next order of business.
Paper 254-22, petition lodging house license, Milltone LLC at 52 Maple Street.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Okay, hold on one second.
What's the matter?
Motion to place communication on file. 258-22. We just receive, we receive a communication. That's what we do. It's a communication.
Okay, you're gonna say, okay, that's fine. Sorry about that.
So motion to place communication on file.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to place on file, seconded by Councilor, don't everybody jump, Karen Cologne Hayes. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, 10-0. Items placed on, communication placed on file. Next order of business.
Paper 254-22, petition lodging house license, Milltone LLC at 52 Maple Street, 8 units. It's a renewal.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to refer to committee, License Committee, all those in favor? All those opposed? Next order of business.
Paper 255-22, order that the Malden City Council evaluate and make changes if necessary to Municipal Code of Malden, MCC, Title 6, Chapter 8, Section 100B3, which states that the area controlled by the business is sufficient size to allow storage or display of no fewer than 15 cars in paved, lined, and numbered spaces no smaller than 10 by 20, and B, employee in customer parking of no fewer than 3 spaces, provided that one additional employee/customer parking space shall be required. For each additional 20 spaces of storage or display, all spaces shall be clearly lined, numbered, and designated in yellow traffic painted storage, display, or employee
Councilor
customer parking.
Seeker for the paper.
Motion to refer to committee?
What committee?
License?
Yeah, I wasn't here. I thought so. But
Oh, and rules and ordinance?
yeah, you do both, right?
I need a joint,
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, on Councilor Seeker's motion to refer to rules and ordinance and to licensing, joint meeting, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries 10-0. Next order of business.
Paper 256-20 resolved that the Malden City Council supports the acquisition of a parcel on Woodland Street in Ward 6 for conservation and to moderate storm water runoff.
Excuse me, Councilor Winslow for the paper.
Yeah, I just, this came up before, I've been working with the neighbors on Bowman Street, and Woodland Street is a small dead-end street off of Bowman Street. I remember a few years ago, we as a council, and working with Councilor Kamel at that time, we designated a lot of open space that was tax title in Ward 6 to be conservation land. So this parcel sits between two pieces of city-owned conservation land. So the Community Preservation Committee has committed money so that we can do an appraisal. And so this is just a resolve to say that we generally support the effort to make this, keep this land as conservation. And I'll be working with the Community Preservation Committee to do appraisal, and then working with the owner to come up with a commitment so that we can purchase this property. And like I say, we'll also be updating the council at some point soon when we on our stormwater plan that we're working under ARPA. But yeah, this is just a resolution related to that. It's about like 10,000 square feet. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Window. If I will, great work, Council Window, sticking with this. This has been a thorn in the Ward 6 area for over 20 years with development and technology allowing to build any property there. But more importantly, that area has been very much prone to floods and flooding, and it's a very unique piece of property that would be great to see us buy and make it green space, or at least non-buildable land. So I definitely want to echo Council Windsor's support in this, and look forward to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? So on Councilor Winsor's motion and Councilor Spatafora's motion, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All items carries. Now it's 9-0. Council Murphy is going to leave a little bit early. She wasn't feeling well, so just let everybody know that. Next order of business.
Let me take a sip of water for this one.
Yeah, I better take a sip of water.
Paper 257-22. Resolved that we, the Malden City Council, stand in solidarity with app-based workers and uphold their rights to fair wages and workplace protections, and formally urge the Massachusetts Legislature to oppose H-1234 in the proposed 2022 ballot initiative that would ask voters to grant ride haul and food delivery companies special exemptions from Massachusetts labor, civil rights, and consumer protection laws. Whereas in 2019, the California Legislature passed AB5, a simple test for determining who's an employee and who's an independent contractor, which determined that Uber and Lyft and ride hail drivers, DoorDash, Instacart, and Postmates food delivery workers are employees. And whereas app-based companies such as Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash responded by spending $224 million on Proposition 22, a ballot initiative meant to exclude ride hail and food delivery app-based workers from employee rights under state law, including the right to a minimum wage, time and a half for overtime, expense reimbursement, and benefits such as unemployment compensation and state workers' compensation. And whereas California Superior Court Judge Frank Roche found that the ballot initiative infringed on the power explicitly granted to the California Legislature to regulate workers' compensation and was therefore unconstitutional and unenforceable. And whereas in 2020, Uber CEO stated that going forward, you'll see us more loudly advocating for laws like Prop 22, and other big tech CEOs have joined them in their promise to bring laws that depress wages, violate civil rights, and put consumers at risk to states across the country. And whereas Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey is suing Uber and Lyft for failing to follow Massachusetts law by misclassifying employees as independent contractors, and whereas in an attempt to escape these violations and avoid paying into Social Security, avoid paying taxes, and harm workers and consumers, the companies are slated to spend $100 million in support of House Bill H-1234 in a 2022 state ballot referendum question asking Massachusetts legislators and voters to grant them special exemption from our labor, civil rights, and consumer protection laws. And whereas H-1234, sponsored by Big Tech, exempts these gig economy businesses from paying into Social Security and unemployment, costing Massachusetts taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, weakening these programs for everybody, and shielding these businesses from liability and financial responsibility if customers or members of the public are injured. And whereas, according to a study by the University of California, Berkeley Labor Center, under the proposed state ballot initiative, Massachusetts drivers may make as little as $4.82 per hour, while those who qualify for a health care stipend may earn as little as $6.74 per hour, which is significantly less than the Massachusetts minimum wage and roughly one-third of the required minimum pay for drivers under New York City and Seattle industry-specific pay standards. And whereas H1234, if passed, would create a permanent underclass of low-wage, mostly black, brown, and immigrant workers by allowing these companies to pay their workers less than minimum wage and provide few, if any, benefits. And whereas, at a moment of racial reckoning in our country, the bill would exclude app-based workers from robust protections against racial discrimination and sexual harassment under Massachusetts Civil Rights Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 151B, and according to many leading voices, passing the bill would be among the biggest steps backwards in the fight for equity and opportunity at work since the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And whereas the Malden City Council has a responsibility to prioritize workers over corporate profits, protect consumers, and oppose any measures that would facilitate wage theft and undermine the rights and benefits of the working class people who keep our city running, now therefore be it resolved that the Malden City Council joins other city councils across the greater Boston region, workers, consumers, community members, faith organizations, environmental and racial justice advocates, labor rights, civil rights, and union organizers to urge the Massachusetts legislature to oppose House Bill 1234 and the proposed 2022 state ballot initiative. In it, be it further resolved that the city clerk of the city of Malden is respectfully requested to transmit a suitably attested copy of this resolution to the chairs and vice chairs of the Joint Committee on Financial Services, the Senate President, the Speaker of the House, the presenters of the proposed legislation, Representatives Mark J. Cusack and Carlos Gonzalez, and the local legislatures to the General Court.
Well, I just want to say, great job reading.
Not as good as that interpreter tonight, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that interpreter, yeah, very good. So, Councilor Linehan for the paper.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to our clerk for reading that. I was really just trying to beat Councilor McDonald's record for the longest resolve after the Title 42 resolution that we passed earlier this year. In all seriousness, though, I think the context on this is important. This is, as you probably assume, some boilerplate that a lot of councils around the state are looking to pass right now. You know, there's a ballot initiative that's gone on in California that's sort of been ping-ponged. It passed, it went to the courts, it was overturned, it's being challenged. There's millions of dollars being spent, and big tech is really looking to Massachusetts to set the new example of how much money they're going to spend to get an exemption, essentially, to basic worker protections. And by that I mean the right to just earn minimum wage. Some rideshare and app, workers are not even making minimum wage. They are subject to harassment. They don't have sort of basic protections. And if you look at some of the data around how prevalent this industry is in Malden, looking before the pandemic, I pulled some of the numbers because I know we've been consistently among the top, certainly the top 10, sometimes the top 3 or 4 communities in the state that sends rides out and accepts rides in. And believe it or not, in 2019, there were 1.3 million trips per year in and out of Malden, most frequently to Boston, Everett, and Medford. That dropped for sure during the pandemic, but it's been ticking up about 12% every year. There's no way to know because nobody tracks the data around how many people are employed by these industries that actually live in Malden, but you can extrapolate just from the sheer numbers of what's going on that probably a lot of people are affected by it that are all of our constituents. And of course, we use the money from rideshare to do complete streets projects and a lot of accessibility upgrades, which is definitely the right thing to do. But I, for one, don't feel comfortable even taking that money, that fee that we get, if it's on the backs of exploited workers. And statistically speaking, most of these app-based or so-called gig workers are from lower income, black and brown communities that are overwhelmingly immigrants, just like ours. And these are the very populations that we don't want to see exploited, but that's exactly what's happening. So this resolve would be about joining our neighboring city councils who are standing alongside the Attorney General, faith-based communities, labor, and so many nonprofits to just say this is not okay. We don't want to have this for our workers, our gig workers, qualifying them as independent contractors when they're working 80 or 90 hours a week and living in a car and eating and feeding their families off of food stamps. It's just not why we have labor protections in this country and in this state. So I'm very honored to have been asked to put forward this by a coalition of labor organizations, and I hope to have your support on the resolution.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I appreciate Councilor Linehan forwarding this as a child of Silicon Valley, but this is where Malden's influenced me to know how hard Maldonians have worked over the years to protect the rights of workers and make sure that jobs are something that pay a living wage and that middle-class families can aspire to great things. And you know, one of the other things that it doesn't even come out of this is that if people are classified as independent contractors, then if they try to organize, they are actually violating antitrust laws. Our labor laws, you can, Uber workers, if they're classified as workers, they can organize and form a union. If you are an independent contractor, that's considered collusion and would be a violation. So I think it's, I'm very supportive where you have this great imbalance between the power of workers, and working collectively is an important opportunity for people in these situations to, yes, that way they can negotiate fair conditions. And if it makes sense for them and the company to have flexible hours and that type of thing, though that's something these people who are in this industry can do collectively and have power to do it rather than not having any power and just being at the mercy of whatever Uber or Lyft puts out on the phone. I mean, I see it in my family. Some people do some hours at Whole Foods, and it's like, and Sunday at 3 o'clock, all of a sudden you have to jump on and try to get hours, and it's great, a little extra money. Fortunately, my family, other people are working full-time jobs, but a lot of people, this is more than a full-time job, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and they're working and driving around so much they don't have the time to advocate for themselves. They're just trying to make an extra buck. So I think it's important that we stand up as a strong labor community to make sure that labor protections, that people who do this type of work have the opportunity, if they so choose, to collectively work and negotiate. So that's why I'm supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor O'Malley.
I'd like to thank the sponsors for bringing this forward. If possible, I'd like the clerk to add me as a sponsor also. I think it is very similar to the Amazon warehouse resolve that we passed last year. Obviously, there are a lot of large companies that are looking to take advantage of workers, and we are one of the first lines of defense when it comes to that. I wasn't aware of the collusion component. I find that interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. On Councilor Linehan, let me make sure I get it right. Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Linehan. Who else is on? Is there another councilor? Councilor Linehan. Okay, I'm sorry. Councilor Linehan, Councilor Karen Colon Hayes, Councilor McDonald, Councilor Winslow, and Councilor O'Malley's resolve. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Crowe. Do you have your light on? I'm sorry. Hold on.
Right,
Councilor
that's
Crowe.
right. I just wanted to be added as a sponsor.
Okay. Does everybody want to be added as a sponsor? Yes, no? Okay. So please reflect the entire council that's here. Be added as sponsor. I'm not going to repeat it. On the motion to pass the resolve, to support the resolve, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Resolve passes. Thank you. Next order of business. We're going to skip over 10, which is the communication. We already did that one. We're going to go to committee reports.
Committee report 259-22, license petitions, paper 209-22, 230-22, 231-22, 232-22, 233-22, 234-22. The Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred the following papers, have considered the same and make the following report, that these papers be reported out favorable to the full council.
That's $25,000. Council seeker for the paper, for the committee.
Motion to receive the committee report?
On Councilor Seeker's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Council Seeker for the committee.
Okay, there's
Thank you. I am going to recuse myself for paper number 230-22, 231-22, and 232-22. Regano's Towing is my uncle, so I do not vote on anything that has to do with family. So if I make a motion to recuse myself, please.
Okay, so on Councilor Seeker's motion to recuse himself from paper 230-22, 231-22, and 233-22, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? You have to do a roll call on that one, right? No roll call. On Councilor Seeker is recused. I will wait for her to leave the room.
So we'll take up papers, first we'll take up papers 230-22, petition open air parking lot Regano's, Inc. of 1152 Eastern Ave, 10 spaces, it's a renewal. Paper 231-22, petition open air parking lot Regano's, Inc. of 1176 Eastern Ave, 15 spaces, it's a renewal. And paper 232-22, petition open air parking lot Regano's, Inc. of 1081 Fells Way, it's 20 spaces, it's a renewal.
I don't think, is anybody else here on licensing? Councilor Winslow, there you go. I'm gonna let you speak.
Yeah, I'm the vice chair. So, yeah, the committee considered these and recommended these licenses favorably. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. On Councilor Winslow's motion to approve paper 230-22, 231-22, and 232-22. All those in favor? Oh, I need a second. Councilor Condon for second? Okay, so on Councilor Winslow's motion to grant those three licenses, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor? All those opposed? Licenses are passed. Councilor Seeker, you can join us back in the room even though you just did a little dance.
We have paper 209-22, petition secondhand deal at Cash King LLC, 41 Lebanon Street, it's a renewal. Paper 233-22, petition open air parking lot Emmanuel Baptist Church, 20 Madison Street, 27 spaces, it's a renewal. Paper 234-22, petition secondhand dealer or pawnbroker, Great Eastern Vintage, 258 Highland Ave, secondhand dealer, it's a renewal.
Councilor Seekers for the committee. Oh, I keep on forgetting to turn on mics. I apologize. Councilor Seeker for the committee.
Thank you, Council President. The License Committee met last week and with the compliance guys, none of these licenses have any issues. They're all renewals. So we made a motion. They came out unanimously in license. So a motion to approve these licenses.
Any questions for the committee, Chairman? Chairperson? Seeing none and hearing none on Councilor Seeker's motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Winslow. I know he's got a couple petitioners in his ward. All those in favor? All those opposed? Next order of business.
Committee report 260-22, committee report license petition paper 500-21. The Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred the following paper, have considered the same, make the following report, that the paper reported out favorably to the full City Council as amended to allow 15 instead of 19 vehicles.
Excuse me, Councilor Seeker for the paper.
Motion to receive the committee report.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Councilor Seeker for the committee.
Once again, this was a former Class 2 dealer. The owner just changed, and we decided on a different amount of cars. There have been no issues in the past at this location, and I make a motion to approve this license.
On questions on Councilor Seeker's motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Next order of business.
Paper 261-22, committee report finance. Paper 210-22, the Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred the following paper, have considered the same, make the following report, that the paper reported out favorably to the Malden City Council.
On Councilor Murphy's motion received, oh, I'm sorry, she's not here, so it's gonna be, I'll be able to do Councilor Condon. On Councilor Condon's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Councilor Condon for the Finance Committee. And I'm gonna turn it over to, 1 second. Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met last week in Finance on this paper, and it addresses the next paper in which we give $25,000 to the Spot Pond Greenway. That was voted in unanimously.
That you are so good as a councilor, you actually spoke before we read the paper. But Councilor Clerk Lucy, read the paper.
He's a little slow.
I didn't have a chance.
Paper 210-22, order that the appropriation enumerated below, being in the amount of $25,000, be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund to the following project: Spot Pond Brook Greenway Phase 2, 25% design project, $25,000 from the general fund.
Counselor, so we heard Counselor Condon supporting this. Counselor O'Malley for the paper.
I want to thank the Finance Committee for their due diligence. We were able to transfer $15,000 from the previous funding cycle into this one. This is going to get us to 25% design. It has no private property impacts, and we are focusing south of Clifton Street. And the goal is to come up with the 25% design, and we're going to be doing additional community meetings. We're going to make sure that we take some of the great progress that we've made with language access in the city and make sure there's translation and the flyers are translated. And I appreciate your support. I would move to approve.
Okay, on Counselor Condon's motion to approve, seconded by Counselor O'Malley. All those in favor? All those opposed? Paper does pass. Oh, we're gonna do that. We gotta do it. It's a, right. Good. As soon as I said it, yeah, it's a roll call. Clerk will call the roll. It's financial.
Cologne Hayes. Condon.
Yes.
Crowe. Linehan. McDonald. O'Malley. Sika. Winslow. Spatafor.
Yes. Same output, but good catch. Believe the docket is clear? The docket is clear. Counsel Linehan has her hand up first. Counsel Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I know it's been a long night, but I do have just two quick things and then one slightly longer but very important thing that I wanted to mention. The first is that I just want to thank everyone who came out the weekend before last, to our Courthouse Arts Festival. It was a very hot day, but it was a very, very successful event. Particularly, I want to thank Kevin Duffy and Evan Spatrini in our planning office. We had a lot of other volunteers and people staffing the event, a lot of great conversations. We shared some of the proposed plans for the site. If you couldn't make it and you want to stay involved, the website to go to get more information is mapc.org/MaldenCulture. MAPC is actually lending some of their arts and culture planners to the effort, so that's why it's an MAPC website. And you can see the plans there and sign up for the mailing list, which I definitely encourage folks to do. We're going to be issuing our report and keeping project updates going over the next year or so. The second thing is I did just want to remind everybody that in just 3 weeks, our first ever Porch Fest is happening. That's going to be on Saturday, June 11th. We have 40 acts performing on stages across the city. That's at private homes, in some churchyards, and public parks. It's really everywhere. If you go to maldenporchfest.com, you can see a list of the bands and a map of the locations. So there's definitely bound to be something near you. And I hope that everybody comes out that day to enjoy some community and some music. And special thanks to our DPW and police who are working with us to make sure everybody stays safe and that the streets have no incidents and that we can all just have fun. And then finally, the last thing that I wanted to talk about on behalf of and in collaboration with the mayor's office is I wanted to share two cultural proclamations from the city of Malden. One declaring the month of May AAPI Heritage Month, and another declaring the month of May Jewish Heritage Month. I want to thank several community members for their advocacy around this. In particular, Nate Bay-Cupel, school committee member Don Macklin, Lori and Mike Ardai, and Marilyn and Ed Andrews, all of whom I think are watching tonight from home. I gave them a heads up that we had kind of a packed agenda and they might not want to sit here for 2+ hours, but I do want to make sure that they get the attention and credit they deserve. I do also want to shout out our DEI coordinator, Bibios La Rochelle, and Maria Louise from the mayor's office who's here. These proclamations have been made for the very first time this year, and it's really an effort to both recognize our local heritage and celebrate our community's diversity while also acknowledging our rich history. So I'm very honored to have been part of facilitating these efforts, and I would actually like to read them if that's okay. So the first is the proclamation declaring May AAPI Heritage Month. Whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is a month to celebrate and pay tribute to the contributions of Asian/Pacific Americans to American history, society, and culture. And whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander, or AAPI Heritage Month, originated in a congressional bill in June of 1977 On March 28, 1979, President Carter issued Presidential Proclamation 4650, proclaiming the week beginning on May 4, 1979 as Asian Pacific American Heritage Week. On May 7, 1990, President George H.W. Bush designated the entire month of May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month by presidential proclamation, and in October of 1992, Congress made the month permanent by law. And whereas the month of May was selected as it honors the immigration of the first Japanese residents to the United States in 1843, additionally, May also marks the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, constructed by the labor of mostly Chinese immigrants. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders comprise many ethnicities and languages, and their many achievements embody the American experience, and whereas the impacts of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders on American history and culture are numerous and wide-ranging, from their valorous service in our armed forces to contributions in the fields of business, education, agriculture, health, and technology, yet their history in America is marked by a struggle for freedom, equality, and justice as they continue to overcome adversity. And whereas with increasing rates of anti-Asian harassment and violence across the country, especially in the wake of COVID-19, it's even more imperative than ever that we recognize the tradition of leadership, resilience, and courage shown by AAPI communities, and recommit ourselves to promoting equity and tolerance, stand up against discrimination and hatred, and ensure that our city is a welcoming, inclusive place for all. Now therefore be it resolved that Gary Christensen, Mayor, do hereby proclaim that the month of May be recognized as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the city of Malden. And finally, the Jewish American Heritage Month proclamation. Whereas on April 20th, 2006, after resolutions passed unanimously in both houses of Congress, President George W. Bush proclaimed that May would be Jewish American Heritage Month to recognize the more than 350-year history of Jewish contributions to America and American culture. And whereas the proclamation reads that the Jewish American experience is a story of faith, fortitude, and progress, it's a quintessential American experience, one that's connected to key tenets of American identity, including our nation's commitment to freedom of religion and conscience. This month, we honor Jewish Americans, past and present, who have inextricably woven their experience and their accomplishments into the fabric of our national identity. And whereas from our nation's earliest days, Jewish Americans have been an essential part of the American story, greatly contributing to the religious, cultural, political, economic, and intellectual advancement of all people, even while in the face of discrimination and adversity. And whereas throughout our history, American Jews have made major contributions to society and to culture in science, medicine, literature, the arts, sports, business, technology, civil rights, government, and military service. And whereas we are reminded that the vibrant culture and life of the Jewish people has experienced prejudice and discrimination, and that Jewish communities continue to confront hostility and bigotry, and that we all share the obligation to condemn and combat anti-Semitism and hatred wherever it exists. And whereas we celebrate the rich heritage of the Jewish American community, we recognize that American Jews have worked tirelessly to strengthen the promise of religious freedom and civil rights in the United States by joining together with all faiths to reject ignorance and intolerance, to teach empathy and compassion, to root out hatred wherever it exists, and through our understanding and study of the Holocaust, we know the human devastation that can come from systemic prejudice and are compelled to never forget. Now therefore be it resolved that Gary Christensen, Mayor, do hereby proclaim that the month of May be celebrated as Jewish American Heritage Month in the city of Malden. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate your time.
Woo! God bless you. That was a lot of reading, Councilor. Great job. Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. I'd like to use my personal privilege tonight to voice my support for the Friends of Roosevelt Park and their endeavor to maintain Roosevelt Park as a natural green grass space for the Salemwood kids, community, and neighborhood. I'm aware that the City Council brought up this issue and voted on it a few years ago, but that was pre-COVID, before we understood the importance of passive recreational spaces for all ages. No one should have to travel via car, bus, or have to walk away from their neighborhood to get green grass and nature. I urge you, everyone, to take another look at this issue and continue asking questions about whether you would want to have turf being put in your parks or in your section of the city right now. I'm going to guess no, as all the other parks and renovations currently being proposed in different wards are all real grass. I agree with the Friends of Roosevelt Park that what we should do is stop this project, start anew, fully decontaminate the soil from lead and contaminants, and keep it as a green grass park for our Salemwood neighborhood. Malden is listed as an environmental justice community, and Salemwood School houses our lowest income level and non-English language learners. This is environmental injustice. This ask comes directly from the residents. The Roosevelt Park and Salemwood School communities ask that the city of Malden join arms with our communities and return to develop a new Roosevelt Park improvement project plan that is reflective of our communities. We simply ask that the same treatment that every other improvement park plan in the city has for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Council President. I'm sure that members of the council are aware of this because I'm sure you're getting a ton of letters in the mail. And I do appreciate that y'all signed the petition to do a public involvement plan at the National Grid site. So this announcement is about the fact that there will be a public hearing, a public meeting on Wednesday, June 8th, Wednesday, June 8th, 2022, from 5:30 p.m. to 7, and it's related to the National Grid site at the corner of Commercial and Center Street. It was formerly a Boston gas site. They've been making gas there for 100 years. They spilled some gas. They probably spilled some other things, and there's a lot of contamination in the ground. So we filed a public involvement plan that really requires them to let us know what they're going to do, how are they going to remediate the site, how are they going to use the site, and it really involves the public, it involves your representatives also. And we're all getting notifications. We're going to continue to get notifications until the site is cleaned up, if it ever is cleaned up. That would be the goal. This really came about because I discovered at a Conservation Commission meeting, and we are joined by members of or a member of the Conservation Commission tonight, that what National Grid was doing at the site was digging up some of their contamination, mixing it with concrete, and then putting it back into the ground. It's called in situ stabilization. It pretty much was a red flag that they never plan on cleaning up the site. No one puts contamination into concrete and puts it back in the ground if they plan on cleaning it up someday. I didn't think that was acceptable. My colleagues in the council didn't think that was acceptable. I don't think the members of the public will think it's acceptable. So again, National Grid will be having a meeting here at City Hall Wednesday, June 8th, at 5:30 p.m., specifically to address the public involvement in their cleanup of that site. I am going to read the notice that was published in the Malden Advocate this past week, and it's a notice of initial public involvement plan site meeting of a former manufactured gas plant at the corner of Commercial and Charles Street, Malden, Massachusetts. It is the specific number, if you're looking it up, is RTN 3-0000, that's 4 zeros, 362. A release of oil and or hazardous materials has occurred at this location, which is a disposal site as defined by MGL Chapter 21E, Section 2, and the Massachusetts Contingency Plan 310 CMR 40. On March 22, 2022, National Grid received a petition from residents in the city of Malden requesting that this disposal site be designated a public involvement plan site in accordance with various state laws. As a result, a public meeting will be held at Malden City Hall at 215 Pleasant Street on June 8th, 2022 from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. to present the draft public involvement plan and to solicit public comment on the draft public involvement plan and to provide information about disposal site conditions. Pretty much come here, hear about what's going on, where the contamination is, what kind of contamination it is. It came to my attention after we filed this that the site is way larger than I thought it was. It does not just include the site at the corner of Commercial and Center Street. It includes multiple city blocks going all the way over to Pearl Street. Includes McDonald's Stadium. It includes Callahan Park. And I don't know how south it goes. I don't know if it goes south of Charles Street, but it's a much larger site than I thought. So please come out and hear about one of Malden's largest contaminated sites. Thank you.
Councilor Winslow.
Yes, I want to thank the folks who helped organize the Maplewood Fest this past Saturday in Maplewood Square. We had an incredible time. Fortunately, the weather cooperated. We had hundreds of people out there enjoying music, supporting the local businesses. Thanks to Councilor McDonald and Councilor Murphy, who were part of the committee to put that together. Councilor Hayes, Colin Hayes, got involved in doing our scavenger hunt. So saw Councilor Spatafora and Councilor Crow there. It was a really fun time. Already talking about doing again, maybe even doing something in the fall even. So very successful day. So thank you for everybody participating in that. Just wanted to remind people a few things. This coming Monday is Memorial Day, so we'll honor our fallen heroes at 10 o'clock starting at City Hall. So I plan to be there and hope to see some of my colleagues be part of that. And I also want to invite everybody, Sunday, June 5th, is Bike to the Sea Day. This is the 30th annual, and this is actually going to be basically the grand opening celebration for the path. Each community along the way is going to have a little celebration. I anticipate sometime around 9 o'clock in the morning, there will be a celebration of the community garden, so all the council will be invited to that. So just to mark that on your calendar. And then June 8th, I will be holding a community meeting at Trafton Park to talk about phase 2 of the reconstruction of Trafton Park. That'll be at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We'll talk about the dog park and the other improvements there, so I'll be getting a notice out there, but those are some of the things coming up for Ward 6. Thank you very much. Great.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Crowe. Oh, I gotta put the mics on again. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to say just a huge shout out to and a thank you to High Rock Church for working with me on a cleanup around the Ferryway School last Saturday. And again, like Councilor Winslow said, the weather cooperated with us on Saturday. And we did a great job. A lot of volunteers came out and we got a lot cleaned up. And I want to give it to the Malden Arts for having the Keith Knight mural on Sunday, a little hot, but it's beautiful. It's right behind where Doo Up, it's now called the Breakfast Club, right along the bike path. And actually, the day before when we were doing the cleanup with High Rock, there was a bunch of people down on the bike path, and it was actually Bike to the Sea. Cleaning up, they didn't even know there was going to be an event the next day. So it looked great for that event. And thank you really to Keith Knight and his family for really being there and contributing to the arts and for all he does across the country. And on behalf of the class of 1988, a member is Carol Ann Desiderio. So they cordially invite everybody to the rededication of the city seal that's on the corner of Malden High School and Ferry and Salem Street on Saturday, June 4th, 2022, obviously, at 11 o'clock. And it really is to honor their class advisor, Vice Principal John Bernardi. And after that, people can head their way down right down to Malden Square and enjoy one of the first, I think, summer festivals. So I hope to see everybody there, and thank you.
1988, wow, Councilor Seeger.
Thank you, Council President. I would just like to wish all of our amazing Malden High students a safe and amazing prom night this Friday. I hope that everyone has a great time. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody dressed up at the red carpet at the high school Friday afternoon. I'm so excited because I even get to drive a few of my former Linden students to the red carpet to aboard the bus. So it's going to be a great afternoon on Friday. And I just also, a week from Sunday, June 5th, is also the Malden High graduation ceremony at 2 p.m. at McDonald Stadium. So I'd like to wish the class of 2022 congratulations. Malden Catholic graduated this past Saturday, so congrats to them. Mystic Valley is, I think, the week or 10 days or so after Malden High. So all of our Malden graduates, class of 2020, congratulations. Thank you.
Council Corning. You have your mic on, Council Corning. Seeing no other lights, I just want to give my bit of gratitude for all the festivities, Councilor Linehan and Councilor Winslow, and I know Councilor McDonald with their festivities. You know, it's a lot of work that goes into these events that I think the average resident doesn't realize, so thank you for that. It's nice to attend them. Councilor Winslow and Councilor Murphy and myself attended Barbara Tolstom's dedication today at the Forestdale event, and it was a Lifetime Achievement Award, and she commanded the room as usual. So it was really nice to see Barbara, who's 91 years old, get an achievement for what she started a lifetime career in saving and preserving buildings in the city of Malden. And she admitted she wasn't always successful, but she never gave up, and she continued going forward with that. And I also do want to remind some of the residents too, there's a jazz that the City Hall is putting on, correct? A jazz concert for the City Hall employees, which I think we consider ourselves City Hall employees as well, at 4 p.m. till 5:30 on the roof deck, right? So the Malden High Jazz Band will be giving a jazz concert this Thursday, the 26th at 4. Training's right after, Council Corning. From 4 to 5:30. So if you're in the building, councilors, come on up and enjoy some jazz by the Malden High students. Seeing no other lights, on Council Corning's motion to adjourn, seconded by Council Seeker. All those in favor? All those opposed? Council is adjourned.